Well, welcome everybody. Friends Races, wherever you are across Australia, maybe even over the water in some other parts of the world. Huge welcome and thanks heaps for joining us tonight. We've got a lot of fun ahead of us, bit of an experiment. As we said just a moment ago while we were chatting, what could possibly go wrong? My name's Scott, with me Matt and Mitch and Tony, who I'll introduce more in a second. We love talking about covering, telling the story of RC racing, the big story and the little stories. And so tonight, what we're really going to do is a fair bit of that, telling some of the stories of our sport over the last 12 months, all that 2023 has held, some of the season's highlights, some of what's made this year special. Maybe hand out a few virtual awards as well along the way. And we'll just take a little dive into 2024, what some of the next 12 months might hold. For us, 2023 has been a fun year of working on sharing the stories of RC. And so before we dive in to reflecting on the season, did just want to say a couple of things about that. Firstly, from us, we just want to say a huge thank you to every volunteer, whether you work at a club, a regional, or a national level. You guys are the guys that put the races on. We love talking about the story of the races, but you work hard and put the races on. So from us, right as we begin at the top of the show, and we'll, I'm sure, mention this on the way through, we want to say a huge shout out to those who run clubs, who run the big events, who work in the industry, who do all the things that enable us to all go racing. Second, we want to say thank you from us to anyone who's given us the opportunity to do what we love, which is that storytelling that I talked about. Whether you've invited Mitch to come and commentate live at your event, or whether you've joined him on a live show, whether you've had Matt and Tony broadcasting live from your race meeting, whether you've joined one of Tony's pit walks that are becoming better and better and better as time goes on, whether you've joined me on a podcast, whatever it is that you've done to kind of invite us into the story of RC, huge thanks. We couldn't do what we do and have the fun we have without you guys and the stories and the racing that goes on. So tonight's plans are to talk about RC in Australia. We're going to talk about that through the lens of the four categories that we know best: 10th scale off-road, 10th electric on-road, IC, internal combustion on-road, including GT8, the GT8 categories, including the electric category, and 8th off-road. We would love to talk large scale, but there's only so many hours in this night, and we do not want to keep people here too far past midnight if we don't have to. Maybe we'll do that another time. We're going to welcome a special guest to help us unpack each one of those segments of the sport, and then a very special guest at the back end of the show to help us take a little bit of a look beyond Australia into some of the activity across the world. So much to do. So joining me on screen, as I said, the faces and voices that you've come to know and love from our channel. So Mitch Pratt from Mitch on the Mic. We'll get to you in a sec, Mitch. Matt Seckold and Tony Firth from RC Race Media. They've been live streaming events from all across Australia and beyond over the course of 2023. And Matt, I'm going to start with you because everybody knows the rest of us. Our voices and faces appear a lot, but you do most of your work behind the camera, so we don't get to see you so much. So, mate, welcome tonight. How are you doing?
Yeah, thanks, Scott. Yeah, I'm pretty good. Thanks for putting this all on. So Scott and Mitch have done most of the work to put this together. But yeah, good enough to invite me on. Not sure I'm a face or a voice of RC in Australia, really, but here's my chance, I suppose.
So just before we kind of get into it, how did this thing start for you and Tony, this RC Race Media? You guys have done like 14 events across the country this year. For those who don't know the story, and I'm guessing that's a bunch of us, how did this actually start?
So it started with, firstly, for people who don't know, I run Sydney RC Car Club, 10th Scale Off-Road Club in Sydney. I've been doing that for about 3 years. It's actually my final stint as club president. I'll be stepping down at the start of next year. So it's been a good 3 years, but it's time to hand it over.
Time, yeah.
So it started with me running an off-road club and our club getting the state titles for last year, for 2022. And basically, we wanted to take it big and do media coverage and all that sort of stuff. We're way out of our depth, but we decided, screw it, we'll do it anyway. First port of call was Mr. Tony Firth out at PDNR, who'd been going around all the tracks doing his RC Racer Chat thing. And he was great with the interviews and stuff. We thought, if we get media in, we need Tony in to do some interviews and do them live. And we also thought, being an on-road club out at Penrith, not too far away, but different discipline, we might be able to work together where some of their club members come out and help us for our event, do some officiating and stuff, and then we can reciprocate the favor for when they have a meeting. And Tony loved the idea, and about a week later, he called me and said, "You know how you're running estate titles? Well, now we are too. Can you still help us? Ours is before yours."
Put your money where your mouth is, Matt.
Yeah, it was put up or shut up straight away. So we did. We went out and gave a hand, and Tony put me in charge of running the live stream, which at the time was just 2 webcams, one wide shot and one pointed at the loop, and I just ran the stream. And also Tony had his phone camera, and he went around and did a few interviews. So I was just switching between the 3 cameras for the whole event. And the best part of it was that I got to sit in the race control truck with Scotty Ernst and chat to him for 2 days straight, which was pretty cool.
You didn't get to do much chatting, I'm guessing. Fair bit of listening.
It was a bit of both, I'll be honest. We had a good old chat, and he was in the end able to put us directly onto Live RC, and we ended up getting Live RC out for our state titles, which was really cool. And it was a huge thanks to Scotty helping out someone he barely knew. That's just the sort of guy he is. So it kind of started there with me doing the stream for Tony's event, and us doing the stream for Tony's event. And when we did get Live RC out to see how they did it, and Lucas McCabe came out, and he was basically a one-man show, and he did his thing, and Tony did his interviews, and we thought, there's no one doing this in Australia, so why can't we? I mean, we saw what he did, and I have a background in music and audio, and I'm a bit of a tech person, a bit of a computer nerd, so we thought between us, hey, maybe we can do this. So we just tried, and as it turned out, we're not too bad at it.
Yeah. Big year, 14 events. You've gone from, that live stream at PDNRC. You've covered right across the country and beyond. Is there one memory, Matt, or one thing, one kind of event or activity or thing that stands out for you from 2023 across all the
so
things
many.
you saw?
14 events. It was a crazy year. It's only going to get bigger next year. We're going international. We're going to New Zealand and Philippines. But from 2023, the one I would have to say is the A1 final at AOC for 21.5. We actually have a cool edited video on our YouTube channel with Ray Zarb and is it Phil Merrick and Chris Newmarch, or might be getting that name wrong, but the 3 of them battling it out for A1, and it was an amazing race. But a bit of a backstory. That was basically our first event we did. We had done one test stream at Wayland for their SummerSlam, which was a lower key event, and it was just us feeling out the whole process and how it all worked. Then basically we did that, and Scotty Ernst asked us to come to Brisbane and do an international level event. And so quietly crapping ourselves inside, we did it. And back then, we were still starting out. I was just getting used to the camera and stuff. I just started using a Zoom controller on my camera, which I have it here. It's one of these guys. So basically this allows me to zoom with the rocker with my thumb. It attaches to the mic, to the tripod, and lets me do it all one-handed. Absolute game changer when it comes to filming RC cars, because you're on the zoom all the time. You don't need 2 hands, one on the rocker, one on the camera. During that race, it started to play up on me, and it was zooming in automatically by itself. So there's this amazing race going on. My Zoom controller is zooming in by itself, got a mind of its own. There's some ghosts in it or something. And I'm kind of freaking out on the back channel going, Tony, it's doing the thing. What do I do? And he's just in the background doing his thing, keeping me calm. It's looking good. Don't worry. Just keep him in frame. So if you watch the footage back, you can actually see I'm very tight in a few shots, and that's due to it just zooming in by itself. And I was just trying my best to keep it in check, keep the action in focus, and it actually came out really good. And then Tony got Ray Zarb as he came down. He got the win in that race. Incredible race. Go watch it if you haven't seen it.
Yeah. Tony
got the interview. Ray Zarb just heart going a million miles an hour, full of emotion, full of adrenaline. I don't think he knows what he was saying. But that was the moment when I watched that interview from up the top, And I just thought, if we can get through that and pull that off, we might be okay at this. And I think we're gonna be all good. So that was my moment from the year.
That's awesome. Not too many more of those behind the scenes stories. We don't give away any trade secrets. Tony, you have jammed your microphone in so many faces this year. Welcome to you. Glad you can be with us. Mate, firstly, how are you doing? How are you traveling tonight?
Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Pretty excited to be part of this show and putting it together, and loving being involved in RC Media for a whole bunch of reasons. So, this is cool.
So tell me a couple of stories about sticking your microphone in someone's face, over the course of the year. That Razor interview was a classic, but I've seen you do pit walks and you've talked to so many people across the country. There must be a memory or two that stand out for you from 2023.
Yeah, same as what Matt said. We were talking about it earlier. There's just too many to kind of pinpoint all of them. I really enjoy capturing that raw emotion or the immediate reaction to things. So a couple of the ones that stand out, to me was Ari Barkla at the GT Worlds when he bumped his way into the main final, and just the emotion just came out. Just to be right there, just to capture that. I really get a kick out of those sort of moments and having that available for all their friends and family to look back on. So that was a special one, as well as obviously a pinch me moment being able to chat to a world champion straight after Tony Gruber just takes out the GT Worlds. That never did I dream I would be doing that. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And we'll dive into that GT Worlds a little bit later on. Michael Stone's going to join us to chat about the GT Worlds, an event he was involved in lots of different ways. Mitch, quietly pressing the buttons in the background there, but we're going to get you front and center now. How are you doing tonight?
Yeah, good. And having a bit of banter on our little private chat as well. No, it's great to be on here. It's great to be with some really good company within the great hobby that we have here.
Mate, great to have you with us. Anything, you've been all over the country as well this year, right? You're from the west to the east and the north to the south, driving the microphone and driving race cars and the worlds, beyond our shores. Anything that stands out for you from your experiences over 2023?
The driving side itself, I would put down to the actual Worlds experience. There's nothing better than driving at a Worlds, and especially over in the US. When it comes to jumping on the microphone, it's a tough mix between going down to Wayland and calling the on-road nationals, which is my first on-road nationals to call, and jumping over to Perth, Western Australia, which may as well be in another country because it's a hell of a long flight to get over there. But both events had incredible racing, two completely different formats, obviously, but the racing in both places were just out of this world.
And much love to anyone who's joining us from WA. We know with time zones, it's a bit tricky to find the right time that suits everyone. So I think it's only just gone a quarter to 5 in the afternoon over there. So if you're with us from WA, greetings to you. Great to have you guys here. Now, just want a couple more quick things about the show tonight, and then we're going to dive in. So many of you have already dropped your nominations for our Racers' Choice Awards. Thank you for those. We just wanted to hand out some kind of fun end of season awards, really. So we'll have some awards that, we've been ferociously debating over the last couple of weeks. Our guests will invite to make their own awards, and we'll let you know how the votes have dropped in terms of those Racers' Choice Awards as we go through the night. Also want to say we really want to welcome your participation in the comments. So if you're watching on, any of the Facebook streams, drop your notes, thoughts, questions, comments, feedback. Maybe keep it PG, but drop in to the chat whenever you can. We'll try and bring some of those through onto screen, but there's it's already kind of scrolling through pretty quickly, so we might not get everyone, but we'll do our best to bring some of those through. Mitch, I think Antonio are the ones with the magic fingers. In terms of the format, it's pretty simple. We're going to go through those 4 categories. We're going to pause to talk GT Worlds in particular. Hosting a World Championships on our shores in Australia seems to us a pretty good thing to stop and chat a little bit about. And as I said, we're going to have guests with us. So Andrew Salvaggi, Jeffrey Mackey, Michael Stone, Andrew Shapland, Ben Panic, and then we'll wrap up the night with a little offshore tour around the world of RC with the one and only Scotty Ernst, who will be up at silly o'clock in the morning, wherever it is that he is. Gents, I think that's probably enough, isn't it? Can we kind of crack on into the show? Mitch, have we got Andrew Salvaggi waiting in the wings there to dive into 10th Scale Off-Road?
I believe he is, and I believe he's got his best suit on today. So we'll bring him
Outstanding.
on in, and he's going to surprise a lot of people with this, I think. So let's go.
I didn't
Let's see.
know we had a best
There we
dressed
go.
guest award.
Oh, look at that.
Oh, if we have a best dressed award, he's won.
Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. How are we?
Andrew,
what a-
I'm
what a
going to pass
get-up.
over to Mitch. Andrew, thanks heaps for joining us.
Yeah, man, we got to start off with that shirt. That shirt is horrific. What's the inspiration
it's all
behind that
about.
shirt other than it being Christmas?
Well, I mean, look at the banner of the show. It's Christmas tree and presents. So I couldn't pass up the opportunity. I mean, I needed to sponsor out the shirt. I think the decals were a bit small, but
Oh, jingles too.
Yeah, it's got bells on it and
jingles.
everything.
I disagree. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, I unashamedly bought my wife and myself one of these to wear Christmas Day as a form of punishment. So
It's punishing, that's for sure. Okay,
Yeah.
we've got a couple of topics to cover. We're already slightly behind time. So with that, we still got you there, Svergy. We've lost your camera. I think your camera has decided to break on you from the hideous.
it
side of
has,
that shirt.
it has, but I've gone back to
Oh,
normal.
oh my
costume.
God.
It was a quick change halfway through.
That
Did we
is
just imagine
disappointing.
that? Or
That is disappointing.
That's all right. I couldn't live with myself any more than a minute on camera with that. It was going to
Okay.
break everyone's stream.
All right, back into it before we get too far outside track. We've had
it's
a world
started
year.
already, guys.
It has started. Massive world year being over in the US. You luckily made the journey over there with quite a sizable team of Australians making the big trip over there. We'll have a bit of a chat about that, the indoor side of things as well. How was your experience over there?
Anytime you get the opportunity to travel halfway across the world to play toy cars is always a good time. The very big thing, obviously us, being Australian or from the area that we're in, the Australasia area, we tend to band together, travel together, race together, have fun together. So it's there's something special about going over to another country. I don't know if anyone here's been traveling and you hear the Aussie accent like a mile away at a restaurant, you're like, I've found my people. So that's
Drawn
what it was
into it.
like, being able to go over there with everyone and just really enjoy the time. Obviously, we don't have any tracks like that here, and that was a learning experience in itself. But geez, it was fun. We had a blast. I mean, Mitch, you were there. It was once in a lifetime pinch yourself stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like the facilities, not just obviously hobby action, but where we got to practice at, all being these massive indoor facilities with huge pitting areas, all lit up with quite a lot of them with aircon and stuff. It's just unimaginable to majority of Australian drivers. So definitely an incredible journey in that side of things.
It was interesting seeing everyone come in, and a couple of people went to Coyote. I think you were one of the yourself and the Sturdies went to Coyote, and then the rest of us kind of went to SDRC, and everyone's like, "Wow, this is amazing! It's so much better than anything I've ever seen. Touched, smelt, felt. Like it's a whole new world." And then I had the opportunity to go over a few times before the Worlds, and my undertone was, "You wait till you go to hobby action." And then everyone went there, and it was, I mean, you almost, if you had a seat, you would have fallen out of it because it was just insane, the presentation of that place. Yeah, awesome time.
Yeah, actually, talking on that as well, I actually got to taste some of the track whilst as a hobby action when they were doing the rebuild. I thought I'd have a quick taste of the dirt over there. It tasted quite chemically. They do use quite a lot of sauce in their tracks over there, so possible cancer risk down the line. Nonetheless, thought I'd get a taste of the dirt. On that as well, nationals. We obviously being World's Year, as well as the nationals being over at Perth, it sort of compounded to the fact that we probably had quite a small turnout for a nationals event. You went over for the nationals as well. How did you sort of read the actual nationals itself, though?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we had one of those years where everything kind of culminated all together at once. There was a big drive, people putting in time to go to Worlds, then eventually people going to Worlds, and then everyone came back home and we've got a nationals in 4 weeks' time. And so that was just kind of this I think everyone had nothing in the tank left for that event. And historically, if we look back at the entries at the WA Nationals, they're relatively low. So I kind of did some numbers. It's around the same entry numbers as they had last time when they had the Nationals there. So I think it was just a matter of whoever could go and really wanted to go and compete went. But to be honest, I think everyone was just spent by the time we all got home. Let's be honest, the people that would have travelled to go to that event at, top tier are the people that probably invested a lot of money to either do the state titles on the Eastern Coast or to go to the Worlds. A lot of people have in the back of their mind that, this year's a qualifying year for 2025 as well. So do you spend the time and money and effort going over to WA, or do you, kind of consolidate and have a big push next year? But all of that said, WA put on an amazing show. They've got one of the best facilities, one of the best canteens, the best vibe at a club that I've seen and been to for a very long time. Matt, not including your club, mate. You guys put on a really good show as well. But
thanks, man.
it's those guys over there. We always feel a little bit disconnected from WA. A lot of us here. I mean, we're all on the East
It's really a
Coast,
different
right?
planet, isn't it?
Yeah, and so it's really hard to join the dots between there, and I think it just takes us going over there. And I know me going over there this time means I'll go back for the state titles next year and any other event they have coming up, because that club now, West Coast, has got a lot of young blood, and they're really about the grassroots racer. And I've never been to an event before, and I think Chris Sturdy said the same thing. Jared Ment was there with me. They all said, we've never felt so welcome at any event ever. And, we'd go and get blowers to help blow off the track, and they basically snatch them out of their hands and say, you're our guests. What are you doing here? So it was outstanding.
Sorry, jump in. It's not too far off the 8 scale as well. Another point being that it was the week after the 8 scale Nationals, which was huge. We were there for that one, and it was the same vibe at the club there, at the 8 scale club. The committee and the all the track crews there were amazing. That kept the day on schedule, and they were so good with that, and they were just a great bunch of guys. And but yeah, unfortunately they coincided a week after each other, and that I think worked against the 10 scale as well a bit there.
That's a good
but
call
it's
out, Matt.
good, good to hear that it was still such a good place to be, and you had a good time there.
Absolutely. They put on a really good event, and I think a lot of people traditionally look at it as a Nationals that whoever's in the top 5 in the country turns up and there's no one else there, they'll win. And I've heard actually Josh Payne on one of your podcasts, Scott, say you still have to turn up. There was a year that Payne dominated over there, and he goes to the triple head back to back to back, 2-wheel drive, 4-wheel drive truck, but you still have to get it done. You still have to finish 4 qualifiers. You still have to finish 2 mains at least, and get it done. One crash is enough.
Absolutely. Yep.
So a lot of people will say that weren't there. Sure, some of the people that won just had to turn up.
Anything can go wrong on the day to take it away from you.
Absolutely. So yeah, really good event. And I think it kind of lamented Sturdy as being, the most winningest driver in 1/10 off-road history in Australia. Probably only second to what Cole McBride's done in the 1/8 scene. But if you look at the sheer numbers, I mean, what Chris has been able to achieve since, I think, joining off-road in 2013 is astounding. He won his first national championship at 2014 at Canberra, and then now cements number 12, I think. 9 years later, that's insane.
That's crazy. Mm.
It's pretty monstrous, isn't it? Yeah. Got to shake your head at that one.
Yeah.
We're going to jump forward a little bit here, and we're going to have a quick chat about the Vintage Bash. Chair just decided to drop on me. So the Vintage Bash, did you go down there and have a bit of a race yourself, or did you go and have a look at least?
I was over at the Nationals. Funnily enough,
right.
it was decided they had the 1/8 Nationals the week before the 1/10
clash in
Nationals.
scheduling.
and then have the biggest event this year in RC on the weekend of the Nationals as well. I don't know if that would have taken away for some entries, but it definitely, I know a lot of eyes were looking at the Vintage Bash over looking at the Nationals. So I didn't get the opportunity to go. I went to Vintage Bash 1.0 last year. You know, Scott obviously was MC and host and commentator this year of 2.0. But my two-wheel drive was present there, not being driven by me, but being driven by Lachlan Monday. So that RC10 B3 is undefeated two-wheel drive Vintage Bash champion at the moment.
Still
So we'll
claim
see how
the
long
win,
I keep
really.
that rolling for. I got to claim the win. You know, it's pretty much
That sounds like a challenge for 2024. I reckon some Losi driver, come on, Losi or Shoemaker guys, got to knock that B3 off.
Yeah, I know. One Ray Monday is threatening to find a B2 or a B3. So it could be a fun year next year.
It just seems like a really cool vibe at the vintage
Well, I
stuff.
think
A little bit kind of maybe what some of the sanctioned events have lost. It's just everyone going having fun and pulling out all their old cars and just enjoying racing, enjoying the track, enjoying each other's company.
I think what it does as well is it gives you the opportunity to clear out the cupboards and go, what cool stuff do I have that I honestly forgot about I have? You know, like I remember last year, Vintage Bash 1.0, I was searching through stuff and I found an old Twister lathe and I found a whole bunch of Ozcharge Group 20 motors and, you know, like, what was it, like the 1400 Sanyo packs, all that type of stuff, like just things that I forgot that I even had. And you go, oh yeah, I remember you. And so you kind of get a bit nostalgic and all of that. So I think that's what that event does, is it brings out the nostalgia and the fun of why we got into this, because it's not serious racing, because these cars, they can't compete on the tracks as seriously as they used to with the power that we have these days. So I think what it does is it brings together the tribe and the community. And that's the biggest thing. It's not the actual racing on track. That's secondary. So that's what I love about that event.
Yeah, cool. All right, well, shall we get over to some of the awards then?
We'll head into the awards. We're dropping a bit behind times. Yeah.
All right, why don't you kick it off, Mitch?
Hopefully, yeah. So our first award will be for the EP Off-Road Event of the Year. So we have that.
So we've got our media selection, and then we've got a driver's vote selection. We put out a bit of a poll for everybody to jump in and have their say. And then I believe we've got the guests to have a selection as well. So
I've got a list written down.
Yeah, beautiful. Well, shall we kick it off with our one?
I wish I go last.
Our one should go last. All right. What is
Why want to change our mind after we hear what Andrew says?
Yeah.
All right. Why doesn't Andrew go first? Then he can set the scene.
All right. So what was category number one? Event of the year.
Yep.
Yeah.
Vintage Bash 2.0.
Yep. Event of the year. Yep.
Big call. Wow.
Vintage Bash 2.0. Wow.
That was up there on our list. Yeah, that was one of a few that got a fair few votes from the poll. If we look at the poll, we got honourable mentions to Vintage Bash and the Australian Nationals, but it looks like the one voted by the people is the South Australian state titles.
Oh
yeah. February, ridiculously hot. I remember it. I got ridiculously dehydrated there. Great event. Really good event.
You're probably hallucinating a bit. Is that why it felt so good?
Absolutely.
All right.
Scott,
Mitch, why don't you
deliver the
next one?
Yeah, we debated long and hard on this one. We talked about the Ride Cup. We talked about the Vintage Bash. We talked about Chargers Carnival, which was another great event up in Queensland in when was that? July. But yeah, from the media crew, the 10th Scale Off-Road Race of the Year New South Wales Championship, run by that little country club down there on the coast. We heard lots of good things. I wasn't there, but I heard lots of good things from that event. So that's our race meeting of the year.
Yeah, well done to the Bateman's crew. They put in huge effort for a little regional club. It was off the scale for what you'd expect from a club that small. And yeah, they did a fantastic job. Great racing. Couple of really cool highlights out of that. And yeah, they're well deserving.
Let's talk drivers. Matt, tell us about. Let's go into the driver of the year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. So for the next category, we had local driver.
Yeah, looks like Mitch is dropping out a bit. So we have
Is it?
driver of the year for EP10 off-road. Why don't you kick us off, Andrew? Who have you
Wait, it seems to be
decided?
dropping out a little bit here, guys.
Yeah, I've actually got a tie. It might be a little bit controversial, but I've got a tie.
Fence sitter.
I am a fence sitter, and
Proud of it.
admittedly, one of them doesn't drive associated, so I'm going out on a limb here, right?
Okay.
So I've got a tie between Chris Sturdy, just for the effort that he put in at the Nationals. Big stuff. No one can dispute that. And if this year was his swan song, then end up on a high. But the first name I wrote down was Jordan Isogen. Jordan's kind of slowly been building, and is, I'm honestly disappointed he wasn't at the Worlds. That's my vote for the year. And there's a list of others that are just on the fence as well. So I've got to be a little unbiased.
Yep. All right. Well, looking at the votes from the people, looks like they're pretty much on board with what you're saying. Chris Sturdy has overwhelmingly taken top spot on that one, so well done to him. Super deserving with all, like you said, all his titles that he's won and what he's done over the last 10 years or whatever it was. Huge raps on him. Going to the media side of things, we've gone a little bit different again. Those two guys were definitely in the conversation, so it's hard to deny Chris Sturdy has probably been the number one 10-scale off-road driver for many years now. But in terms of this year just gone, we've gone with another AE driver, Lachlan Donnelly, purely for his improvement, we'll say, over the year. It's hard to say improvement for a guy that fast, but he has definitely separated himself from the rest of the New South Wales pack. He's just so far ahead now, and he's been on Chris Sturdy's rear bumper at every race meeting that he's been to this year, and then capped it off with his huge effort over at the Worlds. He did such a good job over there. And I think even his results, I watched that pretty much whole stream start to finish, and I think his results didn't even do his pace justice in the end, with some questionable on-track passing maneuvers, etc. But so we've gone with Lockie Donnelly for this one, and Chris Sturdy and Jordan Isogen both had fantastic years as well. So well done to all those guys.
Yeah, you could go either way for the three of those, couldn't you? Or then we could look to the stock classes, but there's been some, from my point of view, just some incredible driving right across the 10th off-road category, and can't wait to see what the next kind of period of time brings, really, when we see those guys go at it over the next 12 months. I just do need to butt in for a second there, because, Andrew, I think I heard you say something about Chris and Swan Song. Is there some story, some wild rumours floating around that?
Oh, I missed that.
Yeah.
It's no secret. It's public knowledge. It's out in the domain. Chris is taking a little bit of a break. He's taken a couple of months, a few months off to kind of reset. I think, like I said, he's gone hard at this thing for a long time. And everyone needs some long service leave every now and then. And I think Chris has taken the opportunity to say, I've won a state or a national championship in every state that it's competed in. So now I can put the cue in the rack and take a little bit of time off. So I'm sure we'll see Chris back in the next little bit. But
yeah,
cool.
Yeah, there you go. I had heard an unsubstantiated rumor, but I hadn't heard that level of detail.
It's on Facebook. It's real, right?
Yeah,
you got the scoops right here. All right, let's move it on to the one to watch for the category. Andrew, who have you got for that?
So I know this is meant to be about up and comers, but but I originally wrote this name down in Racer of the Year, and then I crossed his name out. But it's actually Lachlan Donnelly, because I think if there's one person to watch at the Worlds, I think he had like 5 top 20 runs across the two drive and full drive category. He was pretty hard done by not to make the B in both. It was one water around the wrong sequence, or one crash, or one takeout that could have made a big difference. But I seriously think everyone's going to have a pretty tough time trying to get on the top step of the podium in 1/10 off road, with Locke kind of coming on strong. As far as up and coming, like if I'm talking future state, it's a tie between Noah Carter and Phoenix Eggleton. Those two young guys are killing it. Noah's just coming on strides in New South Wales, and Phoenix is just, well, it's Phoenix. Did really well. Killed me at the 1/10 Nationals this year. I for some reason didn't turn up on the Saturday. But yeah, he's honestly, between those two guys, they're going to rule the world in 5 years' time.
Yeah, hard to disagree with that. Look at the votes by the people, and it is head and shoulders above anybody else. It's Phoenix Eggleton. I think everybody's seen what he's achieved this year, not only in 10th scale. That's what this award's for, but his 8th scale has been fantastic as well. Actually raced against him at Pine Hills up in at the ABC, and couldn't stay with him. So he's so fast. And we'll just jump in and say for the media award as well, it's also Phoenix Eggleton. No denying what he's been able to do this year. As you said, though, Noah Carter, another one who is a Maitland kid. He comes down fairly regularly in races at our club, and I can't beat him on our track anymore. So he's definitely 10th and 8th scale. He's going to be very fast, like you said, in the future. So both those guys, well done on your year, but especially Phoenix, well done, mate. Everybody is cheering you on and looking for big things.
Yep. I don't know if we've just lost Matt there, but I'm going to just move us on a little bit, because we're going to run out of time very quickly, or very slowly, but we are going to run out of time. Andrew, give us a couple of thoughts about 2024. I guess we're thinking about the impact of the 25 Worlds on what goes on in modified here. We're thinking about first state championships on AstroTurf for a long time in South Australia in a couple of months' time. Nationals at Castle Hill, maybe the World's track. I don't know. There are a couple of thoughts for you about what you're looking forward to in 2025.
24, 25. I mean, honestly, it's going to be, there's very seldom do we get the opportunity to have a build up to a home Worlds. The 1/8 scene, and speaking of Ben Panic, later tonight, there's that aura that you get from that. And so what that means is we know that we're going to have a Worlds here in 2025. So anyone will either want to race 1/10 or try and qualify for the Worlds, right? So I think we'll see over the next year, at minimum, a massive influx at events. We'll probably more than likely see event caps or extension of events, things like that. I'm really excited to see people cross from different scales into 1/10 off-road, because honestly, I mean, even if you didn't race 1/10 off-road, you'd want to have a crack and say, I've raced at a home Worlds, whether it's 1/8 GT or 1/8 off-road, whatever it might be. I kind of see that we're going to have this really, really big time in 1/10 off-road next year. You mentioned we are going to have the South Australian state titles on AstroTurf. Like, we haven't had an Astro track here in Australia for, to host a state championships. I know they had one over in WA. I don't know if they hosted a state level event that's going to be RCRA sanctioned. I think that's going to be super cool. And then I honestly think, I'm saying this as a Melbourneite, I love Melbourne, but I kind of want to live in Sydney for the next year and a half. With the World's going to be at Castle Hill. My frequent flyer miles are going to take a hit. I can guarantee you that. A lot of people are going to be wanting to go up to Sydney. So I think if you look at the year ahead, it's kind of, South Australian state titles, the Nationals at Castle Hill. More than depends. We may have some form of and a state title at Castle Hill potentially. And
Yeah,
then
they've just announced about half an hour ago they have the state and nationals for next year.
Yeah,
for
and
year
then we're
2024.
gonna and then we're gonna roll into a Worlds warm up, and then we're gonna roll into a Worlds. So it's everything New South Wales over the next little while. As a Victorian, it pains me to say that, but that's the way it's going to be. And I already know that, say for nationals this year, we're already, I'm getting messages from people like Jason Rona and Spencer Rivkin wanting to come over and do a couple of trips before they actually race at an official Worlds here. So it's going to be huge.
What a time. What a time. Andrew Salvaggi, thank you so much for joining us, mate. We're going to have to cut and run because we've got a lot to cover. We could have probably talked electric off-road for 2 hours if we're honest. We all love it. But thanks heaps for joining us, for those insights and thoughts, and for those awards. Yeah, very cool. Thank you again. We'll look forward to seeing you on a racetrack around the country next year. Those Worlds are even dragging old stages like Simon Camilleri and myself into the kind of idea of maybe a bit more electric off-road. So I might.
Isn't
might
that an
see you
amazing world we live in?
Might see you at Castle Hill for the Nationals. You never know.
Pleasure.
I'm sure I'll
Love
bump
all
into
you
you
guys.
somewhere. But thanks,
Awesome.
Andrew.
Thank
Thanks
you so
heaps.
much.
Thanks, mate.
See you, buddy.
Folks, we're going to turn our attention just like that to the high performance super fast world of electric on-road. And we got another special guest joining us. So we're going to kind of just work the magic buttons here and join him into the show. I'm assuming he's in the background there somewhere, Mitch. Here we go. So we're looking to welcome, fresh from finishing on the podium at the 2023 Electric On-Road Nationals, Mr. Jeffrey Mackie. Jeffrey, welcome to the show. I'm going to hand back to Mitch. We're going to kind of keep going on, but now we're going to turn our attention to the bitumen, to the blacktop, to electric on-road.
Yeah. So, Jeff, introduce yourself. You've had a pretty brilliant year over at Wayland for the on-road national titles. And what other races have you been in this year? Oh, you got your mute on.
There is. Jeffrey gets the first award.
Look,
there's a bonus award we didn't tell anybody about. You're the first guest.
Yeah, a bit of a quiet year for me. I only really attended one state titles and the nationals. So most of my money was spent. We went to Thailand this year, so I missed a few events, but I enjoyed the ones that I did get to go to for sure.
Yeah, and obviously, a couple of things coming out of the nationals, the potential of change of motors and stuff were talked about. Also Simon Nicholson's sort of dominance, I guess, in mod is probably one of the main talking points, which is probably where we'll start off with. Simon seemed to be just on another, I guess, playing field in certain ways. What do you put a lot of that down to?
I'd absolutely agree. He's showing that on another scale now. After the nationals, you could see that he was on that next level. And now he's gone over to Hong Kong and China, and he's beat Ronald on another track that's maybe a little bit lower grip or something like that. And then you just put it in the A-main on carpet in China. So like 1 week later. So he just has that natural ability to just switch to whatever grip level he's racing on and immediately be fast. It's hard for us to get that fast on different surfaces. We usually do get there, but usually it's in A3. So it's very rough.
I mean, we saw some incredible battles between yourself and, pretty much the entire field, possibly other than Simon Nicholson, who intended to sort of run off a little bit. But, anyone that hasn't watched the RCR Race Media A2 and even A3 from, the Nationals down at Wayland, it's probably one of the best races to watch from on-road in Australia that I've, if not ever seen, potentially, for a long, long time at least. So if you haven't checked it out, check it out. But some of that defense, talk about your defense from that race, those races at least, man. That was crazy defense.
I don't really know how I did that, to be honest. All I knew is I was listening to the timer and I was like, I know how many laps that is. That's 15 to go, 14 to go. So it was very stressful. A1 and A3, definitely I had a car that was a bit better. A2 was not so good. But I know that track fairly well. We've raced there quite a fair bit. The grip has dropped significantly over the time. And I did run out of tyres, to be honest, because I was on the back foot through qualifying. I rolled it in Q1. I rolled it in Q2. So I was sitting at about 8th overall after 3 qualifying rounds. So I needed something big to even have a chance of a podium. So I used 3 sets of tyres in qualifying of the 4 allocated that we get, which left me the 1 remaining. And Simon was not my battle for that weekend. It was, can I hold P2 and hold Nicholas Lee behind me? 2 times, yes. In A2, not so much. But yeah, that was enjoyable racing and probably the best EP modified 1/10 scale racing that I've been involved in or witnessed for quite some time, because I don't think there was contact almost anywhere through the whole top 10. So loved it.
Yeah, super tight racing. Just nose to tail racing from almost, tone to tone, which is pretty rare to see even at a world's level nowadays. But to see it with an Australian border, that was an incredible race. As you mentioned, both A1 and A3 for yourself, some of the defense there was just impeccable. Also, we saw fairly strong fields down at the on-road nationals. Would you say that's pretty consistent across the board of Australia at the moment with EP on-road?
It's good to see that our nationals does get this high attendance. Sometimes it's been hit and miss, but over the past few years where we have been able to run, we did have that little break where we couldn't run. The smallest one might have been the 2019 Nationals, which was in South Australia. Excellent track. Love that track. It's just a bit far, I think, for some people to go.
It's an amazing track, isn't it? I can't say enough about that. It's an unreal piece of bitumen.
I love it. You can drive full pin on it for 5 minutes and the car's still happy. But yeah, it's good to see we're getting this high attendance, and there's a bit of growth in the sport too. So there's a few juniors running around. It looks like it's not that popular, but if you think 3-4 years ago, that didn't exist at all. So, there's girls and boys out there trying it out with their mum, dad, whole family might be racing, nitro, electric. There is a nice mix going on. So I think EP is in a bit of a stagnant place, but there is that room to grow.
Yeah, definitely potential growth, especially with everything that's going on with this EP world or EV world coming through. I think there's a lot of potential growth within the hobby, and especially on road as well. Motor changes and stuff. I know there was a bit of talk about this coming outside of the national titles, that Raw is potentially making a change for stock motors to go over to 17.5, if not potentially have already implemented that. Do you have sort of any word from after that?
I'm not too sure on Raw, what they're doing. I don't take too much notice of Raw personally, because I don't do a lot of stock racing. I guess if you do, you might take a bit of attention because they really pump out motors in the US. But in terms of racing in Australia in stock, stock 13.5, stock 21.5, the racing has become significantly faster than it used to. I raced stock 13.5, which was Blinky, back in 2014. That was the first time that I sort of travelled a little to events and stuff like that. And I think we were doing about 21.5 speed. So, yeah, you can see that it's got that much faster. There was a poll, I believe, from the RCRA saying, getting a feel for what racers wanted, what clubs were thinking about it. And I think the response was don't touch it, because people just enjoy that stock 21.5, stock 13.5. It is significantly easy to race these classes, and it's nice and close. You can see the racing is extremely close. Where in modified, you do get a bit of that spread. It's hard to say really where the future lies, but I guess we'll have to see what happens.
I guess I sort of see it as a way that you got a stepping stone to between the sort of the 3 categories. 21.5 is sort of a nice beginner, easy. You can almost pin a lot of tracks full flat, just about. 13.5, you learn a lot more brake control, a lot more throttle control. You can't just pin it out of the corner. You lose traction, get a bit of wheel spin, that sort of side of things. And it's sort of, if you went from 17.5 to mod, that's a big jump. Whereas 13.5 to mod, at least it's sort of, half to 2/3 of the way there, I guess. If not potentially even closer nowadays, with, as you say, how quick the 13.5 cars are.
Yeah, I think some people in stock are doing modified times because our tracks don't have that much grip and it's so much easier. But But yeah, look, I think the major issue is probably a bit of tyres in that too. Tyres aren't as good as they used to be. When they are good, they don't last very long. The manufacturer can't produce them for that long. But yeah, we just get what we get, race with it.
Yeah. Oh, fair enough as well. And what about modified itself? Do you think we're sort of at a point where it's almost too quick in a way? Is it getting beyond the actual capabilities of drivers, cars, that sort of side of things? Or are you happy with the state of mod as it is at the moment?
I mean, personally, I have no problem with modified racing, but I can see that it is becoming more difficult for more and more drivers. The cars are probably at their hardest point to drive that they've ever been, because they've been so refined now that its total focus is corner speed. And in a mod car, you have so much power, you don't know what to do with. So it's a hard combination to drive with. In terms of people getting a feel for it, there's a lot of things you can do now which make modified a lot easier than it used to be. A lot of electronics have a bit of softening in them, things like that. But yeah, I think modified racing just needs a bit of love.
Bit of love.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I think that's fair comments all around as well, with the stock side of things and mod side of things as well. I mean, you've been driving mod for a sizable amount of time now, so you know the ins and outs when it comes to modified driving. Is there anything you would actually change about how the way mod is at the moment at all, or are you just set on how it is and happy with how it goes in the future?
Modified racing is difficult for sure. Maybe restricting this motor size from a 540 to a 380 can or something like that, just bringing that torque down nicely. And you could possibly do that across the board, but that is a big, massive step for everyone that races to try changing motors like that. We'll just have to wait and see what happens with IFMA and things like that. The Worlds is possibly going to be a little bit different next year with some body rules as well. That's going to significantly change all kinds of racing, particularly modified. I think we're going to see a pretty big loss in downforce, and that's going to change a lot.
Right. And what about, say, pan car side of things? I know they have 10.5, which is stock virtually pan car, and also 12 scale stock and modified. How can we boost the numbers for that? Because we saw quite low numbers for that sort of side of racing this year.
Pan car racing, I love it. You can drive 12 scale, 10 scale pan cars extremely hard when they're set up nicely. It was good to see that mod 12 scale actually got to race at the Nationals this year. I know my mate Lionel was super keen for it, and he was stressing out. Are we going to race? Are we going to race? I'm like, I can put my car together if you want. I'll do a couple laps. I think it's just accessibility to different tracks that suit the application, to be honest. A lot of the tracks that we have in Sydney itself don't really suit, except for Moorebank. For club days, things like that. Wayland's too dusty. Castle Hills is a bit too small, and that's mainly it for tracks that we have in Sydney. So, yeah, needs a good track.
Okay, yeah. All right, we'll move on to the awards now. I'll get back on track here. So, do you have picks for your awards? We'll start off with the EP On-Road Race of the Year. Do you have a pick for yourself?
Well, my personal one would have to be the Nationals, where I managed to hold off, 6, 7 cars. I'm not too sure how many people were there. I was focused on one alone. I didn't get to attend, but AOC seemed like it was a fantastic event. I know Scotty always runs perfect events, to be honest. They're enjoyable and managed in a way that you can go to the race, have a good time, get out pretty early and have a beer with your mates or something like that, which is good. Yeah,
Scotty tends to run a good event. So with that as well, the viewers voted. You go for it, Tony.
I was going to say, it's a beautiful segue into the driver's choice vote.
Yeah.
The EP event of the year. There's 2 kind of runaways, and they were the 2 that Jeffrey just mentioned, AOC and the Nationals. But yeah, the AOC came out on top as judged by all the drivers that submitted their votes.
I'm gutted I missed it. I was in Thailand 1 week before, and I was like, damn, I missed it.
And so our little media crew here, we decided to vote for the Winter Champs. So it was closely followed by AOC and the Nationals down in Wayland. So both picks there were right on the money.
Yep.
All right, so EP On-Road Driver of the Year, who would be your pick here?
Driver of the year, it's hard to go past Simon, just because he's had that performance level that's so high, it's been almost impossible for anyone to match. I think he's only not won maybe 2 events this year that he's competed in, and some of those were bad luck, some of those just didn't end the right way. If you were thinking of a pretty broad perspective, another one would be at Thailand and AOC. Ryan turned up, I think it's the first time that he's used a radio in quite a few years after having a bit of a family of his own. And he's turned up, smacked me in Thailand and smacked everyone at AOC. So that shows you how good he is.
Yeah, that was pretty special, wasn't it? It was pretty special. Yeah.
I think the votes are not even split decision on this one. I think we've all voted, including viewers. We've all gone for Simon Nicholson on that one. And as you mentioned, it has been a really dominant year, and he's just continuously showing that sort of dominance, both overseas within the best of what we have in Australia. So everyone's pretty well set on that one. Yeah. EP On-Road to watch. So future and upcoming stars. Who would be in your books, Jeff?
My personal one, I think, lines up with quite a few. Lincoln Codd in New South Wales has been fast for more than a year now, running his Mugen Seiki. I know he races with Tim Moylan quite a lot, but he's been quick in stock for possibly the past year, and he's taking steps possibly every event, and he's getting that much faster with it. As he matures, he's going to learn more and more about how to drive these cars. You can see he's got that aggressive driving style, and he's very fast, and there's little mistakes do creep in, which cost you dearly in the long run. Yeah. But I don't know how old he is, but it's so young, and I was not that quick when I was that age. So he'll be a worry in the next 2-3 years for sure.
Yeah,
13 we're hearing. He's 13 years old.
13. There you go. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing at 13. I was in stock, but I was probably getting pumped by everyone else.
Yeah, young Lincoln was the one voted a runaway decision in the driver's choice as well. And I think I saw it at the Winter Champs, where, like you said, he just found a whole new level. And I was like, okay, like he's really improved. And then again at the Nationals, he just found a whole other level again. And it's
like a switch.
Exciting to see what he'll find next year. Yeah.
And that's it. You just do that every event you go to, and he's doing heaps of practice, and he's going to see the fruits of that next year.
Yeah, I saw an announcement just today that got some support from Mugen through the Australian factory as well. So securing that drive and that deal, which is a big help.
Yeah, he's going to have an excellent time next year with that support.
Yeah.
So our media pick was actually Mia Thomas with a backup of Lockie Pearson and Ryan Reynolds. So Mia had a really good run down at Nationals, and I believe a really good run also at the state titles only a couple of months beforehand. But Mia put it into the B main, qualifying 16th overall. Only ended up getting, I think, 2 really good runs out of 5 with a sort of average to decent run for her sort of third backup one. If it wasn't for that, she might have actually scraped into the A main. Qualified 16th overall and actually managed to win the B main. So that was the media pick, Mia Thomas. So congratulations to Mia Thomas as well. Great driving from young Mia.
That's in 21.5, by the way. She moved up from juniors. That was 21.5. She ran the B main.
So yeah, Matt with the info on that one.
She won
as well,
juniors in 2022.
Yeah. So moving through the ranks really quick, which is incredible to see as well. That pretty much wraps it up for the EP On-Road side. I'll pass it over to Scott, and he'll be able to say it
Matt, Jeffrey, just wanted to check and see whether there's a couple of highlights that you're looking forward to in 2024. World's Year for 10-scale touring car over in the US. Are we expecting to see some Australians head over for that, as we saw for off-road last year? AOC maybe back in Australia, up Thailand. Do we know where the nationals are? Any of those kind of 2024?
Yeah,
bits
so I
you
know
can
a
fill
little.
us in?
I know a little bit. I'm pretty sure TFTR is going to be hosting the 2024 Nationals
Excellent.
next year. They hosted it last in 2016.
Hmm.
So that's definitely a fun little track down in Templestowe. Next year, Moorebank is holding XRS, which is a EP on-road event early next year in replacement of what used to be our SummerSlam or IMCC Cup. Unfortunately, IMCC is a bit under the weather at the moment. I'm not sure if it'll get back up and running, but I hope so because I love that track. And as for the Worlds, I've started asking questions, so I'm not sure if I'll be there, but we'll see.
Yeah, as we saw for the off-road Worlds this year, that when a Worlds is on in the US, gets big coverage, right? And so that that race, I think it's in California, isn't it? If I'm remembering that rightly.
I think that might be correct. Yeah, it's a fairly new track. I think it might be called Finish Line RC. I could be wrong. It looks like a technical mix kind of track, but it looks like a perfect host.
Yeah. So we might dip into this a little bit more in the international scene later on, but I just can't help noticing on the way past as we talk about that Worlds, the rapid rise of some of the US drivers. And, as we saw a big threat in the 12-Scale Worlds from Kemp Anderson a couple of weeks ago, starting to wonder already whether, a US world champion or at least podium in the Touring Car Worlds next year might just be a possibility. We might ask Scotty Ernst about that a bit later on.
Yeah, the man has
Jeffrey,
great answers.
Jeffrey, thanks heaps for joining us. Again, we could have chatted. There's many questions I didn't get to ask that I would want to. World's body rules, I need to know about that. We are out of time, but thank you heaps for taking an hour out of your night to come and join us. Blessings for Christmas and the New Year, and all the best for what racing holds for you in 2024.
No worries. Thank you, everyone, for having a watch, and I think this is very successful. So thanks for having me.
Oh, beautiful! We've got the tick of approval already. Nice. We can hang out. No.
Thanks,
folks. Thanks, Jeffrey. We're gonna shift gears now over to.
Can I go one quick?
Yeah, go, Tony. Go.
Just one quick little mention before Jeff runs away. He recently got engaged, and he did. He went away. So just want everyone to know that he
congrats, man.
Proposing to his fiance at the IC on Road Nationals.
Well, I did take it away from the track. We went nice, distant, and it was a lovely night, and then it was back to business. But yeah, thank you.
Oh well, she said yes, so it can't have been too
bad.
I'm guessing.
Yes, right?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Well, congratulations and blessings for the engagement and a wedding whenever that happens. Maybe you can do a wedding at the Worlds. How about that? Yeah.
No, thanks.
Folks, we are going to shift gear now to the noisy side of the hobby, the sport. And before we kind of go more broadly, we want to focus in on one particular event in particular, and that is the GT8 World Championships. Anytime a Worlds is on Australian shores, that's a big deal. And actually, I've just been reminded in the comments, I think it might have been Andrew that just made note that World Championship racing is back in Australia in 2024 for the large scale, a fifth scale on-road Worlds, same venue at Moorebank. The RC Bike World Championships on Australian shores in 2025 up at Berendale. That will be something pretty cool to go and watch. And of course, the 10th scale off-road Worlds we've already talked about. So 4 World Championship events in Australia in a little over 2 years is pretty spectacular. Right now, though, we're going to welcome Michael Stone to join us. And we're going to just take just a few minutes, 10 minutes or so, to have a little dig into what was involved in putting that event on, that GT8 Worlds, only the second time that category is run at a World Championship event. Michael, thanks for joining us. I'm going to see if I can get Tony to kind of lead us into a little bit of a conversation. Tony and Matt were both at that event. I was just watching on the stream. So, Tony or Matt, do you want to kind of lead us into a bit of a chat about the GT8 Worlds? Or do you want
I'll throw it over to Matt. I think Matt was keen to
go on, Matt.
Matt can
take us
through.
I was I? Yeah, that was. I mean, for RC Race Media, that was a huge thing for us to be doing. So soon into our media career, and so we got to see it pretty well firsthand from all angles. And being on the same race team and actual friends with Michael Stone, I got to see a kind of a third angle on it and all the work that he put into getting this event up and running, along with Joe Patane, who did a huge amount of work taking over the club presidency there, I believe. And so Michael, just give us a bit of a rundown how that event went for you from the perspective of organizer and also as a racer competing, who ended up doing quite well.
Yeah, thanks, Matt. And thanks for having me on. From a club perspective, it was a massive task. I don't think anyone quite realized what we had to live to with this event. Although it was only the second running, obviously World Championships and racing, even just in Australia, has gone to a level that's it's borderline crazy, with full camera footage, zooming in on cars. You guys are now doing replays and stuff, so that's a massive task to achieve. Moorbank's roughly 360 meters of asphalt to do a lap. There's about 270 meters of fence around it. And it's based on, I think it's 4 or 5 acres. So to look at that,
a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah, how am I going to make this pop? And yourself and Tony and also your brother Peter were massive helps. And we kind of there was a committee change partway through. Due to health reasons and other reasons as well. But I think the whole club pulled together. We got what we needed to get done in a reasonable amount of time. So it was phenomenal. I was actually hiding from Tony at the opening ceremony because he was lurking around with that iPhone of his, and I didn't like that. It's pretty emotional.
Didn't want to catch any emotions on camera, didn't you?
Yeah, to see what
you know how much I love getting that.
Yeah, I know.
He's always lurking.
But it was pretty surreal, pretty amazing. And then
saying that, it wasn't just an effort from you guys. Like you guys put in a huge effort, you and Joe yourselves. But as you said, it did come together as a whole club thing. The whole club ended up getting on board. And also people from outside of the club. It was a bit of a showcase of what Australia could put on with all these worlds that we have coming up. This was the first one, and this was going to set the tone. So there was a fair bit of pressure. So that kind of led everybody in the industry, whether it was that discipline or not, to kind of come in and lend a hand, which I thought was just fantastic. Oh,
absolutely. And when you stop and think about it, we've had to the best of my knowledge, there was about a 15 to 20 year break in between World Championships, being in 89 and then 2001. We don't get a massive flow on of World Championships here in Australia. And now we stop and look at it, and there's 4 or 5 in 2 years.
Yeah, it's crazy to think, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. And now, we're preparing for the 5th scale worlds, and that's a unique beast in itself, because the cars are big, the travel's expensive, and the manufacturers are quite quiet, for want of a better term. You don't see a massive amount in social media and etc. from the 5th scale guys. So
a bit less in the spotlight than the other disciplines then, I guess, is it?
100%. And so it's quite difficult to work out where to go to talk to the right people, rather than, talking to someone that might be able to help you, but it's not quite the right person. You need that one business owner that you can talk to and you can say, look, this is what we want to do.
Really ready to put up.
Yeah, exactly. The put up or shut up method, basically. But yeah, it's going to be a crazy few years in RC for Australia, I think.
Yeah, cool. Well, I, for one, am looking forward to the 5th scale worlds, just purely because they are bigger and I'll be able to see them on the camera better. So from my perspective, I'm looking forward to it. Did you have something you wanted to say, Tony?
I just had a question on how much of the experience that you've got from the GT worlds translate to large scale. Like you just said, they're quite different beasts, but from the event planning or the logistics point of view, is there many lessons you can take away from that transfer, or is it almost reinventing the wheel and starting it?
No, a lot of lessons, yes, we can take away. The organizational point of it, as well as the advertising side of things. We need to take a lot of pointers and tweak them. I don't think it's a reinvent the wheel. It's just tweak things to a different category. So, for instance, a lot of the large scale guys are an older contingent of racer, so they're not on the social media, etc. So they respond better to email than they do the social media. So we've just got to tweak things in that manner to really grab the full focus of all the races. As well, it's an open tire event, so we need to probably do a little bit of research and feed it back to people. Maybe do some recommendations, etc. Fuel is another one. It's not like you just organize your runner time or your I don't even know what other fuels there are anymore. And it'll result in these guys needing their team to either supply fuel at the track for them, or we'll need to supply fuel, and obviously oils for these guys. I'm pretty sure they're limited with what they can travel with on a plane in terms of that sort of stuff. So yeah, I think it's a different beast, but we can take a lot from what we've learned previously.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, considering you've just done an event that's sort of in the wheelhouse, at least, we're pretty confident you'll get it up and over the line. Just going back to the GT Worlds, though, on a personal side, you had some pretty good results there. Can you just give us a little bit of a rundown of that? I know especially the nitro side of things for you and your team, Ari Barkler as well, that really meant a lot to you guys getting to the A. But you made the A in EP8 as well. Just tell us a little bit about that.
So a lot of practice went into that and a lot of preparations. Definitely having Peter Seckold helped me throughout the entire event, took a massive load off my shoulders, and my partner Danny made life a lot easier for me.
Yeah, Danny deserves a lot of props here.
Yes.
When you can't contact Stone, you contact Danny. She'll sort it out.
Anyone that knows me knows that's true. So yeah, it was a little bit of a dream come true, make an A final, home track. Electric didn't go quite how I wanted it to, and I kind of just decided to defeat with that one and just focused on let's get the nitro car in the main, and we did that. We did it reasonably comfortably. I think there was maybe 4 seconds separating Nathaniel Senesi from Italy, myself and Ari, even to the point, don't quote me on it, but I think we're on the front straight at the same time on the very last lap.
That's pretty cool.
So, and I was on the headset to Danny, relaying messages to Ben Darley, who was pitting for Ari. Don't push, we're in.
Because
I think that line in one piece.
So you're a couple laps up from the opposing semi-final by that point, I think. Halfway through that your semi. So it was just put it in cruise mode. We got this, and get the message out to the other guys.
Absolutely. And then even in the main, it was a bit of a roller coaster. I'd knuckle down for maybe 3 or 4 minutes, and then you'd get that wave of emotions coming back that we've done this, and
you're in an A final in the World Championship.
Yeah, and it's our club that's hosting this, and it's all the cogs are ticking and the timer's ticking down. It's nearly over,
Yep.
and we haven't had any major issues. So it was it was really good, really good.
That's really cool. Yeah. Well, congratulations on your results. I mean, if you're disappointed with the EP side of things, you still made the A final in the World Cup. So I don't think that's anything to be too disappointed about. So I guess you just shoot for the front of the A next time. How about that?
Yeah, well, hopefully we can make it to the next one. So.
Yeah, nice. Is there one particular moment from the World Championship that you would like to highlight? One moment for you that's stood out above anything else?
Yeah, probably the most impressive moment for me would be seeing Jeff Hammond get to second. He missed out on Super Pole, and I believe it was his mechanic Tim Moylan called a delay in the main warm-up.
Yeah.
He changed body. His car didn't sound perfect at the start.
It wasn't looking good for him going in, was it?
No, and he just knuckled down for that full hour and pulled it off.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that he wasn't good to go from higher up in the grid, and I don't know, but maybe he could have given Tony Gruber a bit of a run, but
he definitely could have tried to defend. That's for sure.
He still did so well for to make it from the rear of the grid to second.
Yeah, and probably also Alex D'Angelo taking the TQ. Alex rocked up and he's running around with a body that's held together with race tape.
Yeah, he kept that body on the whole event, didn't he?
He did, and
he's lucky tape body.
You'd often see Alex. He didn't have a cigarette lighter, so he'd light his cigarette and he'd run at 400 mile an hour out the gate so that he could have his cigarette. And he'd have, I think he had about 3 or 4 people he was borrowing lighters off. And Alex's attitude was just so cool, calm, collected. He was there for the ride. But as soon as that qualifier started, he was a different beast. Yeah. And we caught up with Alex, Zeno, and Analdi at a cafe that we went to, and we had a great chat with them, and myself and Ben Darley, and he was just a party animal. All he wanted to do was just have fun, and then to pull off the TQ, and he was
that kind of vibe about him, didn't he?
Yeah, 100%.
He was pretty much stark contrast to Tony Gruber, who was very straight down the line and seemed very German, and he didn't actually show any emotion in any interview until he won the race, and then he just exploded with emotion. I think he was stark contrast. He was all emotion all the time and just there to have fun. It was really cool to see.
Yeah. No,
anyway, we're probably going to have to wind it up there. Thank you very much for coming on, Michael, and all your efforts that went into that event. It was pretty much run flawlessly, and we had a great time covering it. I mean, that was a huge highlight for Tony and I, and just covering a world championship like that. I don't think we had awards for this one, did we? Or did we?
No, they're part of the next.
They're part of the next
segment,
one, yeah. So
part of the next one. So
yeah, we'll move it on to we'll go back to Scott, and we'll look at some GP on-road stuff.
But, beautiful, yeah, thanks. Thanks, Michael, for joining us, and congrats to the whole team from John Grant International Raceway for putting on that event. I can't wait to see the large-scale worlds there next year. What chance another Australian world champion on the back of, I think it was 2015 that Russell Greninger won that large-scale world championship. So we might see a little
Every
bit of a
chance.
focus
There's every
go
chance.
to.
There's
Yeah.
a few fast guys coming out, and you know, even Chaplin's got the fifth scale happening now, and
All right, we're going to ask him
he
about
could
that.
definitely be a force to be reckoned with.
Beautiful. Thanks, Michael. We're going to
No,
go
thanks,
straight
bye.
on to. We're going to go straight on and talk about 10th and 8th Nitro IC on road. We're going to kind of take a whip around the world scene. We're going to welcome Mr. Andrew Chaplin to join us in the house. Andrew's been around RC for quite a few years now. I think he and I used to race electric touring cars together way back in the day, if it's not too shameful to admit that you've got EP roots, Chaps. Look at that hat. You've taken on Mr.
bit out of
Salvaggi there
frame.
for best dressed. You'll have to duck
I'm
down
a bit
little
out of frame here, boys. I might have to hang on.
He ran off to get that after he saw Andrew's jumper.
Yeah, I did actually, but Andrew's jumper takes the cake. I feel quite inadequate now with the hat, but the wife did bedazzle it a little bit with a bit of white around the top. So thanks, Dale.
We all do feel inadequate whenever we look at Andrew Salvaggi, that's for sure. Chaps, welcome to the show, mate. Thanks so much for taking some time to join us for a bit of a chat tonight. Good to have you.
No, thank you. Thanks for the invite, guys. It's awesome. This whole new media thing that's happening in Australia. Yeah, I'm just amazed at what everyone's doing. It's terrific.
It's good fun stuff. So it's been a really interesting year, I think, in Nitro On Road. There's been some real highlights, and we'll talk about some of those. There's been some races that didn't get up because of weather and all sorts of things. But mate, from your point of view, give us a couple of the the real highlights or the kind of race meetings that you particularly enjoyed being a part of and seeing happening here in Australia on Australian shores. We'll talk worlds in a second, but tell us about the Nitro On Road scene here in Australia in 2023.
Yeah, well, so 2023 for me and Team Chaps Racing, which is usually me and my boys. Jasper wasn't really that interested in doing much racing this year, so we didn't actually get to a lot of events. We did the Queenslands, and I ended up actually going down to the Nationals, so I didn't really get a great chance to get around. Although I believe it was Melbourne, the Vics, and South Australia maybe didn't actually get the numbers to have an event. So I believe it was only New South Wales that had the other state championship this year.
Tell me a little bit about that Queensland Champs race. I think Jasper was on the podium, if I remember correctly. I might be wrong about that, but give us give us a tour through that event at that incredible Brendale facility.
Yeah, well, it holds a special place in my heart, that track and facility. And to get to have Jasper there racing against your Braden Stanleys and your Tate First, those boys are like on another level at the moment. And Jasper was mixing it with them, and I just get a whole heap of enjoyment actually pitting for him, even if it does seem like I sabotage his races every year.
I mean, I don't know whether to ask about that.
Are you referring to the Chaps tune? Is that what you're referring to there?
None. Well, I mean, yeah, it was probably a little hot, Tony, but it was more. It was more. The year before he was actually leading the race. I've underfueled him somehow and managed to run him out of fuel. So, throw that one away. He still managed to salvage third in that event, which was remarkable for him to do that and come back. And then this year we were running a little bit hot, and Jasper didn't have a lot of experience with how to manage the tire change, and the idle was probably the engine was pinging just a little bit, probably a little too lean, but Jasper was wrapping the throttle a little bit too much, and when the car's on the side, obviously the pickup for the fuel and this sort of things, it sucked some air and ended up flaming out on the while we were doing the tire change, because the wear was a little high this year actually at Brendale, so we had to do a tire change, which I think pretty much everyone else had to as well.
I just like that we've introduced a new phrase into the lexicon of World RC, the Chaps tune. I think I don't know if we heard it here first. It's certainly the first time I've heard that.
Yeah, it sort of goes a little bit like ning, 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 ning.
I do want to talk a little bit about the Nationals in a second, but I wanted to just pick out a few people and just ask you to reflect on some of those. And you've mentioned a couple of names, names that have really come on strong in the last couple of years in particular. And I think we're going to see, well, we have seen a national championship for one of them already. But so Braden Stanley and Tate Firth, I guess I'm thinking about, two young guys out of Sydney, grown up racing it in the West there at Penrith. And Tony, you can act all embarrassed and ashamed if you like, but your lad's a good kid and a good steerer, and Braden's just been going gangbusters.
Yeah.
What do you like about seeing young guys like that, chaps, really emerging in a pretty competitive field?
I guess the biggest thing is just that we've got some people that are going to take over and, are in the fresh blood. It's great to see. It's great to see. And it's so hard to keep their attention these days with whether it be sim racing or, the amount of online games and stuff that RC is competing with. It just wasn't a thing back when we were kids, If we got an RC car, that was like as good as it gets. But now we're competing with a lot of other distractions, let's say. And to see these kids coming up and not just coming up, like they are taking over. What can I say? They're just phenomenal. The talent. They obviously got some pretty good backing from their parents. Tony, looking at you, Chris Stanley, obviously as well. There's also Grant and Lincoln Todd and the Sandersons, Nathan and Pete. It's great to see. Yeah, it really is good to see.
It's interesting to me that we start to hear a few of these names, drifting between categories. So we've got some really quality young talent that are doing the business here in this world, but also, making waves in electric as well, which is, one of the interesting parts of our sport, that people move a little bit around. A couple of other questions I just want to float with you before we get to some awards. Tell me a little bit about the Nationals. Finals were washed out, I think, if I'm understanding correctly. So Jesse takes the win in 8 scale based on qualifying. Braden in 10 scale. Peter Jovanovic, great to see Peter back in the GT8 class. What did we miss there in terms of, were we lining up for some pretty special finals races if the weather hadn't intervened? What do you think we would have seen?
I think 45 minutes, anything can happen. I do like to pride myself on putting together a good car that can go the distance mechanically, failing those weird failures that seem to plague me. But I think there was a few people that were disappointed we didn't get to run the final. The GT would have been incredibly interesting with the tires. I was absolutely wiping the left front off mine in one qualifier. I don't know how it would have played out, whether, in GT8 not allowed to do a tire change as such. So we were throwing around a few ideas, but never really got to play it out. So should have, could have, would have, don't know.
Yeah. Tell me a little bit about GT8, because it's a category that's, really risen over the last couple of years, I guess. Has it been something that's drawn some fresh blood, some new faces to the nitro, well, GT8 electric as well, but that nitro scene? Is it kind of doing some good things for the sport in that sense?
Yes and no. I mean, GT8 has been around quite some time now. I think the first guys actually to be running that was the likes of Matt Oxford down in New South Wales, and I think there is some new blood coming in with the class, but I also see some other people choosing to run it as a second class as well.
Yeah, okay.
I think there's a lot of scope at a local level to maybe improve the format of the GT8. And I'm talking about things like to really make it super easy for someone to get into the class. And to make something super easy, I believe that it needs to be a few controlled elements. In Brenda, we're going to have a series this year. We call it the EPR Super Tourers, and it's a GT8, but we're having a spec engine with a spec pipe and also a control tire. And the reason why we've done this is we've done a lot of testing with it, and just make it easy for these people to get into. The amount of choices, if you were to go and say, you need an engine, you need tires, you need this, that, it just is overwhelming for people. And just for instance, the engine that we're using, it's not some piece of garbage. It's actually an OS buggy based engine, the origins of the class, and you can buy a pipe and engine combo for under $400, and they last. Like, they're using the Conrod out of the on-road engine on the on-road 8-scale engine, so they last forever.
That sounds like that's something definitely worth keeping a bit of an eye on.
Look, and I think you know we definitely need the sanctioned racing class, but at a club level, I'd just like to say to some of the clubs, just think a little bit more about making it easier for these new people to get in. And GT8 is great for newcomers, and anyone that's like maybe thinking about trying some nitro racing as well, whether that be EP guys or off-road guys that want to get out of the dirt. EP guys might want to run longer than 5 minutes. GT8 is great. They're so strong. They're almost indestructible. They're not as fast and hard to drive as like a Pro Tour or an 8-scale, but that also opens up the door to have some really good racing, and you can really bang doors on these things, and like a corner doesn't fly off the car, or you don't end up in the fence. Like, they're just, I really love the class.
Shaps, we have got so many things that we should talk about, but we are going to run out of time. But I do need to just ask you about the Worlds. You were over there in Japan for the Worlds a couple of months ago with Jesse. I think you were driving the gun, weren't you, in the fuel stops? But so just give us.
No, I wasn't doing any fueling. That was all up to Ray. I was just involved in doing the tire changes.
Okay, so just give us like a little insight into, what that event was like, as a World Championship event for those of us who could only watch on from home. Incredible racetrack in Japan there.
That's really hard to wrap up in a few words. But 8-scale always brings out the best of the best. There's over 120 entrants, and like 120 of them are fast. To make top 50 is like an achievement. To be in the top 10 is like unbelievable, and it's just a spectacle. I really hope everyone got to watch the finals and stuff online. It's amazing. The track, fantastic. Japanese people are just beautiful. The whole facility is just amazing, actually. Really amazing. And to watch the top guys, like, they're almost full throttle everywhere. Like, I don't know how they do it.
I do have to say the last 5-6 minutes of that, the whole final was amazing, but the last 5 or 6 minutes was completely nuts. If anyone hasn't seen it, track down that A final and watch.
It's on the Live RC YouTube page.
Tony, why don't you take us through some awards for the 8th and 10th IC on-road category? Where'd we get to? Why don't you lead us through that?
All right, should we kick it off with Shaps? Do you want to lead the way? Or you can follow us.
Yeah, okay. Yep.
The best IC event, by people's choice.
It's
pretty much only one horse race, and that was the GT Worlds.
Yeah, look, if you're talking in Australia, obviously the GT Worlds, hands down, the best or biggest race in Australia that we had. And yeah, like you mentioned earlier, to Michael Stone, the large scale Worlds in Sydney next year as well. That's going to be something to watch as well. But yeah, the GT8 Worlds here, brilliant. You guys killed it on the coverage. I was glued to the computer screen. I hardly got any work done, so thanks for that. But no, amazing job.
Yeah, we certainly. We agree.
Driver?
Yeah. My driver of the year. Look, I have to say Jesse in Japan. I don't know. I mean, the absolute, and not discounting the GT8 worlds, but the best of the best, hands down, were there, and they juked it out hard. And for Jesse to just narrowly miss out on a podium, yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, I think we at the media team agreed, and me personally, I think just seeing Jesse again driving around his home track down in Melbourne, it just never ceases to impress you just how he wrestles that thing around. So incredible.
Yeah, that track is just no wonder they got such good drivers, because that thing is so challenging. Like, they come up here or to Sydney, Adelaide, it's a walk in the park. Like Melbourne track, if you haven't been there, you should try and get down there. It's great. The great people, great facility, great track. Get down there.
Where'd we get with the Viewers' Choice Award, Tony, for Driver of the Year?
Yeah, that was it was a close one. Jesse came second in the votes, but the top driver voted by the drivers was Jeff Hammond, which I think is a good choice as well, considering the different classes and the events that he attended. And again, just missing out on an A main spot in Japan as well. So didn't quite get the results that he was probably expecting.
Can't wait to see those guys go head to head, hey, in 2024. Something special. Let's talk one to watch. Where are we with one to watch, Shaps?
Look, that's always a hard one, the one to watch, and especially with the how the boys have been performing. I've already mentioned Braden, Tate, Nathan, Lockie Pearson as well. Like he's been dabbling a little bit with the GT8. Didn't have the experience that he probably wanted at the Worlds, but I think we've all seen him. He's super fast, and I can't remember how old he is, but I'm pretty sure he's only
12, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, like super young.
He's just turned 12, maybe something like that.
Right.
Someone tell us in the chat.
So out of all those kids, and also Jasper, but he's sort of not really showing a big interest in racing at the moment. But my pick actually was Lincoln Codd, and mentioned earlier in the EP as well. I've seen Lincoln and his dad Grant a few times now at a couple of events, a couple in Brisbane, and then in Sydney and Melbourne. Terrific people, great operators. Lincoln is driving exceptionally well, and he's nipping on the heels of his mentor. And I don't know. I mean, he's 13. It's pretty remarkable. He's doing awesome. So Lincoln Codd, up and one to watch.
And just to jump in for a second, I think Tony, before you jump in, is to say Lockie Pearson's just turned 13, so he's the same age as Lincoln.
Okay.
Yeah. So take us through, Tony, the Viewers' Choice and the Media Team Award there.
Yeah, I think the media team were on the same page with that one. I think Lincoln Codd was the name that came out on top. I think the other junior names that you mentioned have kind of been around for a little while. They're probably not really up and coming anymore. So, but yeah, Lincoln definitely the one to watch next year. And then the driver's choice, there was some funny names getting thrown around in this one. Lachlan Donnelly, someone nominated him after his one debut race in the GT Worlds. So maybe
very
hard
done by in the final too.
Yeah, unlucky.
Yeah,
unlucky. That would have been pretty special.
Pretty hard there. Sorry, PJ.
But yeah, the driver's choice for the one to watch next year is Nathan Sanderson. So
okay.
Congratulations, Nathan.
Definitely.
So, Shaps, as we wrap this up, tell me a little bit about next year. We're just talking there about ones to watch for next year. So, what's a couple of highlights? We're a World's year for 10th Pro Tour, I think, in Costa Rica, if I'm reading the things right. Any Australians headed there, or any other highlights you're looking forward to in 2024?
Yeah, so 2024 200 mil Worlds in Costa Rica, like you mentioned, Scott. I'm not sure on how many people will go over. I'm sure there'll be a couple. We've also got the Nationals in Sydney. Those guys have got one heck of a year ahead of them. having to host pre-worlds, nationals, state titles. Whoa! I mean, I've been in that role before, not hosting worlds as such, but these back-to-back events, and we've done some FEMCA events and stuff like that at Brendale, and I really tip my cap to those guys. Unbelievable effort, and looking forward to getting down there, maybe even for a few clubbies with the large scale. Hopefully, talking to Scotty while we're in Japan, and Kenji as well. It's likely ANC will be back on the calendar next year at Brendale again. We don't have any dates or firm confirmation on that, but Scotty definitely coming back with AOC as well, which I'm sure he'll mention a bit later at Brendale as well. So it's a pretty full year. We'll see how all the numbers go. It's hard to choose, these events to get to, and I'd love to hear people's comments in the chat as well about the poor numbers this year as well. Like, it'd be great to get some feedback on what people are thinking. Why were some of these events? Why didn't they go through? Was it format, costs, time away from the family, work? It'd be really good to get a feel so that we can make some adjustments and try and see if we can't improve some of those attendances.
Yeah, good call. Andrew Chaplin, thank you so much for joining us tonight and for what you've done and brought to this hobby over many, many years. You've worn lots of hats over the time, and awesome to see you back in the top 5 at a Nationals. And I look forward to seeing what happens at the Worlds next year.
Hey, sounds like Sydney. I podiumed in GTA.
Oh, I missed that. There you go. How's that for quality research?
Crazy.
You legend. It does sound like Sydney's the place to be in 2024. Shaps, we're going to let you go because
thanks, guys.
Well late. Thanks, mate. Blessings to you for Christmas
and
New Year's.
Okay.
Cheers. Thanks, buddy. Folks, that leaves us with one category in terms of the Australian scene, and then we'll dip our toes into the water and go overseas. But before we get there, we're going to go, of course, to 1/8 scale off-road, both electric and nitro. It's been a huge year in that part of the sport, and there is nobody better placed in Australia to help us explore what's going on in the 8 scale scene than Mr. Ben Panic. Ben, all the way from Sydney, but currently tonight sitting in a hotel room in Japan. Ben, thanks for joining us. Thanks for being here.
Good to be here, guys. And look, thank you for having me. But from me to all of you, a big thanks for everything that you're doing for RC, not only here in Australia, but all across the world. Scotty, your podcast, and I listen to a lot of them, given how many planes I sit on a weekly basis. Yours takes a cake. Your interviewing is amazing. So thank you for everything you do. And, to Mitch and, Tony and Matt, the level of coverage that we've seen in Australia and the professionalism has just been amazing this year. Listening to the podcast and listening to tonight, 14 events that you've covered. They've just been awesome. I've been to quite a few of them, so I've had the pleasure of being around them, and it's just made racing really step up to the next level. So, kind of behalf of all the races, thank you for everything you've done.
It's an absolute delight. And we love nothing better than waiting for the Ben and Zach track walk at just about any 8 scale race meeting that you guys get to. You've been around this year around a whole bunch of different races. Give me a little bit of a tour through the year, or a couple of the events that you particularly loved being a part of. Certainly within Australia, but you've been offshore as well. So give us some highlights from 2023.
Yeah, it's been a pretty good year. The weather played ball for the majority of the 8 scale events that I went to, both here and overseas. So that's a little bit of an outlier. It doesn't usually happen. If you think back to last year at the Nationals in Queensland, it was a little muddy. It was a little wet. So this year was great.
Yeah.
Went to events in South Australia for the RCGP event. That was a lot of fun with the SA boys and the crew there. Over to Manila for the ABC race, which was really, really good. Down to Brisbane then for ABC again in Australia. And that was probably, I think, the biggest event, internationally that we had in terms of entries across the year in Australia. And that was just fantastic to have Scotty Ernst and the team cover that. Then over to Perth for Nationals there, which was brilliant. I think hats off to, the Perth club. They always do a fantastic job at, listening to the guys in Salvaggi talk about 1/10. It sounds like that's in the water over in Perth. And, a big shout out to RCRA and, Tom Van. That was probably one of the most smoothly run Nationals that I've ever been to. You know, there were no hiccups in the event. It had such a good vibe to it. And even being the Nationals, it had a relaxed feel, albeit very competitive. You know, I think the weather playing its part, you know, does help with those things. It lowers everyone's stress levels. So, you know, that was great. I did some events in Canberra and, you know, lots of things locally. 10 scale. Unfortunately, in New South Wales, we don't have an 8 scale track in Sydney, which is, you know, something that we're missing. If I look at the caliber of the talent from you know, Perth through to, you know, South Australia and Queensland, we just don't get to race as much against each other in Sydney, and that's a real problem. Maitland's been offline all year. They're coming back online now, so hopefully that helps us out a little bit. It's a couple hours outside Sydney, and that'll bring some of the races back together. You know, we've got Illawarra and Canberra, but we just lack that ability to get together week in, week out, like some of the other races do. So I've dipped my toe back into 10 scale. I need to get my young bloke wheel time. So, you know, Matt's track at Ryde, it's been somewhere that I've raced for 35 years. So back into a little bit of 10 scale now, just to get some wheel time. So I don't turn up to 8 scale and kind of forget what I'm doing.
He's been doing quite well there too, Zach.
He's loving it.
Oh, Zach,
My young Zach,
Zach,
he's really enjoying it. So he just finished primary school, so he got an end of school present the other day. So he's got a 4-wheel drive. So he's coming after you, Matt, after your dominant performance on Saturday night. Matt hadn't picked up the radio in 10 scale in a little while in off road, and came out and dominated one of his races. So he's got a target on his back for a few people.
Oh, here we go. It's on.
Smack talk. It's only taken us until 8:20 p.m. Queensland time. Hey, Ben, there's a bunch of things that you mentioned there that I want to dive into. Let's kind of go as quick as we can through them. Let's start in Perth. Huge win over there for Alex Benadzik. You know, well, firstly, great to see Kyle McBride back on track right after taking most of the year off. But a huge win for Alex to break that streak of Kyle. Just talk to me a little bit about what you've seen from Alex over the last couple of years, and you know what you made of that head-to-head race over there in WA.
Yeah, look, no surprise. I mean, you know, Alex has been close. You know, he's beaten Kyle before a couple of times. You know, I had him picked last year to win in Queensland, so I really thought he'd be able to get it done on, you know, what is pretty much a home track for him. Awesome to see him do it in Perth. What was really exciting about Perth, you know, not only was it Alex's first win, but we just had a really competitive qualifying, which was awesome. There was so many different TQs. Yeah, you had Kyle, you had Benadzik, Caleb Noble was like super fast. You know, Aaron Dexter was amazing at his home track. So there was lots going on in qualifying. It kept things really, really interesting. And then, you know, come mains time, it was a pretty brutal track to race on. Alex got it done. You know, he really knuckled down. He deserved to win, and it was great to see him get that win finally. I think, you know, Kyle had 10 in a row, if my memory is correct.
Like 10 or 11,
going to be possibly his 11th
streak of 11 was going to be, I think, if Kyle got up. But like you said, qualifying was brutal, and Alex even had some troubles. He started to more down the field in the A main. Oh, not even quali, sorry, that was in his semi, but he had to come from the back, and I really thought Kyle had him covered for that event, and he was looking really good. And Alex just to me seemed just a little bit off the pace, and so when he had just scraped into the final, I was a bit worried. But then the level he went to when he came out in that final, he drove through everybody. He was like a man possessed. There was no one going as fast as him, and unfortunately with Kyle having an issue, and we didn't really get that head-to-head battle that we were all hoping for, but it was still just a really cool storyline lead up, and it all came together for Alex on the day, and he drove amazingly in that final.
Pretty sure Alex actually had a flame out in the semi-final towards the later sort of quarter of the race, and he ended up, I think, qualifying around that sort of 10th, 11th position. And the start of a race for him actually was pretty shocking. He actually went to the top left of the track. He collected someone and had to wait. So he ended up dead last from lap 1. And not just had to make his way through the entire field of Australia's best drivers, but he did it at a rapid pace. He did it in a pace of literally, you know, minutes to laps rather than, you know, picking off drivers over every 10 minutes. He was up near the front within within 10 minutes. You know, it was the pace was rapid.
It was crazy.
Yeah,
Pretty extraordinary. Yeah. Yep.
He'd had a new engine that he'd run, and it was one of the tightest engines I've ever felt. And it flamed him out in the semis. So it was quite foreign. He was starting behind me in the main, so I had to move over pretty quickly for him because he was moving at a rapid pace, you know, kind of by lap 3 when he got to me. And he just stormed through the field. So I think, you know, he was very focused in what he needed to do, and no one was beating him on that Sunday. It was great to see.
Pretty special. Hey, I also wanted to just dip into, I mean, you've mentioned, you know, there's some of the challenges in getting together in Sydney around not having a track in the metro area, but it reminds me that there's these little clusters of hyper competitive, you know, predominantly younger drivers, you know. So in WA, we've got Dexter and, you know, Woolhooter and Sims. And in South Australia, we've got, you know, someone like Jaden Edmonds, Jack McMillan, Zach Foster, like this little cluster in South Australia. And then those names from Queensland that, you know, we've already talked about, Alex, Caleb Noble, who is just ridiculous to watch drive an 8 scale, you know, and there's a bunch of others. What are you, I guess I'm curious about, you know, who you're kind of really keeping an eye on out of some of that crop of talent that's really at the front now in 8 scale, you know. And there's, of course, all the veterans that have been around that are still fast, but I'm just loving seeing those clusters of young, fast guys all over the country.
Yeah, it's awesome to see. One of the things I do, you know, for JC is kind of look out for talent. You know, I spotted Alex, you know, many years ago. I think it was way back in maybe.
Put your hand down, Scott.
Yeah, sorry.
Back in 2017. So when I look at the young blokes now, there's lots of impressive talent. What Christian Walhunter's done this year is awesome. I remember he and I had a battle for the last spot in the semi last year at the Nationals, and I pipped him and managed to beat him there. And he's paid me back all year because he's beaten me when we've been in Manila or WA or anywhere. So he's taken that next step, which is awesome to see. Zach Foster has been super impressive. For me, he's kind of like the quiet achiever. He's doing really, really well. And, you know, Harry Sims, really good run when he went over to Manila. So he's up there. There's so much fast talent across the board. So we kind of got to get our act together a little bit in New South Wales and just play a little bit of catch up in the 8 scale nitro scene. And, you know, a lot of that's going to come down to getting together a little bit more, like I talked about, and be able to race. You know, Connor Lawton, watch out for him in a couple of years. You know, he's really young. He's going to be up and coming. So lots of good talent. And, you know, Jaden Edmonds, breakthrough win in South Australia the other week. He's a great bloke, lots of talent, and really good to see him get up and beat 40 and Dexter and everyone else there.
Yeah, that was a big win, and I definitely like to see that. Mate, Tom, before we get to some awards, let's just talk a little bit about the Asian Buggy Champs. We've mentioned that a couple of times, Manila and Brisbane, obviously Pine Hills, big race. You know, it's awesome to see a race like that on Australian soil. The track surface was incredible. The racing was amazing. You were in the thick of it. What did you make of that weekend at Pine Hills in July?
Just like a RC racer's dream, really. You know, you're at what I will call out as the best facility in Australia. You know, I don't think there is a better off-road facility than you know, what Ty Beale and Zach have done, and the committee there. It's fantastic. It's got everything that you could possibly need, which is awesome. And they're doing even more moving forward. And then having Scotty and like that international race and, you know, the feel of a big race, and the fact that we had all of the support infrastructure around there, you know, the video going constantly, the interviews, it just makes for a really good race. The format was brilliant, and Scotty rattles through the event really, really well, you know. So you weren't there at, you know, 8 or 9 or 10 o'clock at night. You're out having dinner with your mates each night, which, you know, for most of us in RC, you want to get track time and you want to get a good amount of track time, but you also want to be able to go out at night. And I think that's what the ABC race does really well. Manila was exactly the same. You know, you get to enjoy racing on track and then get to enjoy, you know, the off track side of it as well. So I'm looking forward to 2024. It's 4 events. We start off in New Zealand, and that's only 6 weeks away. Like, wow, you know, we're going to get through next week in Christmas and New Year's, and then it's going to be, hang on, pack your bags, we're going to New Zealand.
And I think most of us in this chat are actually going to be over there. So it's, there's a bit to do between now and then. Ben, let's do some awards. We've got to charge on with the night. Time's getting away from us. so on that kind of just speaking about events, talk to me about, from your perspective, the 8 scale off-road event of the year.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It's going to go down to 2 events. Obviously, pretty obvious which ones they are. ABC in Brisbane or the Nationals. I'm probably going to give it to ABC just because of the international side. I think it really raised the profile of what we're doing in Australia. So when I look at, the RC scene, it got exposure into, folks in North America. I know plenty of guys in the US were like, wow, that looks amazing. I'm really interested to go and race there next year. So, it just pips the Nationals by a hair purely because of the international exposure it gave us.
And because, somehow Ty Beale wrangled the governor of Queensland to be there for the opening ceremony. That was quite the look. Amazing. Matt, give us a bit of a tour through the media awards and the Racers' Choice Awards for this event of the year.
Yeah, same thing across the board as what Ben says between those 2 events. And having been at both, let me tell you, it's a tough decision. Both committees did great jobs. Both events went off without a hitch. But in both regards, for Driver's Choice and for media, it's gone to ABC at Pine Hills. So congratulations to that crew up there, Zach Ryan especially. One other thing behind the scenes, Zach Ryan is very forthcoming with information, helping other people out. He was a huge help with Sydney RC Car Club when we wanted to do the oil surface treatment to our track. He just sent me all the information he had. And then again, when it came to the event, he was asking us for info about what we did because he knows we put on a pretty big event, and he was just wanting to make that event as good as it could be, and it really showed when we got there, and it all came together so well. So yeah, well done to that crew up there.
And not to mention the way he wheeled his buggy in the Nitro class in particular over that ABC race. I mean, he was amazing. Really serving it up to Alex and Caleb. I keep going to call him Caleb. Impressive. Let's talk on that topic, Racer of the Year. Ben, who's your 8 scale Racer of the Year?
Yeah, so before I get to that, just a couple of points to build on, because it does need a special mention. Qualifying at ABC and the Nationals was something that we hadn't seen before. Like, it was super competitive. And I think for, a few drivers to build from, to take that, into some of the mains would be really interesting. Like, work out how do you take that speed and consistency over 10 minutes and do that for an hour and take it to Alex. I think that'd be really awesome. And we talked a little bit about the oiled surface. Zach's done an amazing job, helping a couple of clubs around Australia on that. But what is really, really interesting, and if you follow Edward's CEO and the guys in the Philippines, Edward came over for ABC. And when we think about, RC and the exposure globally and getting more people into it, in Manila, the RC community has been pretty much Nitro. Now, Edward came over, he looked at what, the guys had done in Brisbane, and he was pretty impressed with it, loved the racing, and decided to go and try it at home. And it's transformed racing in Manila in the Philippines. They've got a huge 10 scale group now that comes and runs on a short version of the track. And that's super impressive to see. And if you look at it, they just run a Nationals over there. They had a huge number of entries. They got people that come out and just run on the club day by day now. And, it's really growing the sport over there. So I think, that that's kind of collaboration that we have in RC, it's just awesome to see. So, special mention to those guys, all that information sharing. I think, that helps out clubs globally, which is great. Yeah. So for me, Race of the Year, pretty easy. Alex Benazic, first Nationals, home run.
Yeah. Matt, you got anything different to offer from the Racer's Choice and the media crew?
I don't, unfortunately. It's pretty set across the board. He had an amazing year, and he's the only one to break Kyle McBride's streak. So Alex Benazic for Driver's Choice and Media Choice. So well done to Alex.
Congrats to Alex. All right, let's get to our last award, the one to watch. Some emerging talent, and we've talked about a few people on the way through. But Ben, who are you keeping an eye on for 2024? Who's your one to watch?
Yeah, one to watch. Wow, there's a huge number of them. But look, the standout for me this year, the one that has made kind of that step to the next level, has to be Christian Woolhunter. You know, he won RCGP, podium in Manila, podium in the Nationals. He's really taken that next step.
Yeah.
So he's my one to watch.
Yeah, that's a good shout out. Definitely one to watch in 2024. Matt, where did we get to with the races driver's choice and with the media votes here?
Yeah, so driver's choice. There's a very big spread. Looks like there was 14 different nominations for next one to watch. Shout outs to Christian Wallader, Jaden Edmonds, and TJ Creperi. I think that's how you pronounce that. Sorry. For all placing in that. They're all very fast guys. But it actually came down to a tie for the top spot. One name we've heard tonight already, Phoenix Eggleton, and also along with him is Zach Foster. So they are the two Drivers' Choice Awards. They couldn't be split in the votes. So we'll go over to the media side, and we're not too much different, but we've gone with Zach Foster. So
one more name I actually want to chuck in the ring there as well, late add-in, is actually Jared Cook. Now, Jared has done basically 0 8 scale. And a lot of 8 scale drivers probably actually don't even know the name, but he's a Gold Coast local here. He went over to Perth to run the 8 scale nationals, and I think he was probably the most bumped and most raced driver over there. He bumped all the way from the lower mains up into I think the B main in both nitro and electric buggy. So a big shout out to Jared Cook. He's definitely another one to watch.
Yeah, absolutely. He had pretty good run in EP too as well, I think, didn't he?
Yeah, he bumped.
He's done the Ben Panic in the nitro and bumped through every main, and
there's some quality talent around Australia right now, isn't there?
There really is.
Ben, let's bring this home with a little eye on 2024. We've got the Nationals pretty early in the year in South Australia. That's a bit of a shift to the rhythm of the last few seasons. Tell me, what are you looking forward to there? Some pretty quick South Australians. Maybe we might see a homegrown winner. What's the chances?
Yeah, it's going to be hyper competitive. I think it's coming round certainly very early in the year. I think we go there in March, if my memory is
correct. I think that's right. Yep.
So we go there in March. Dexter's just been over there, so he's really showing his hand. He's going to get over there as much as he can. He definitely wants it. He looks quick with the Losi. The locals are going to be very difficult to beat. The track and the surface there. It's an oiled surface. I've been now over there for RCGP. It's a little unique. It's a different feeling to the oiled surface of, a BDR, or even what we've got at Ride in 10 scale, or Maitland when they oil it in 8 scale. So it's a little unique. It takes a little bit of time to find the right setup and the right tire. So look, I think the usual folks are going to be fast. Christian was really, really good when we went to RCGP there. They'd been to an event previously. They'd had the tire game worked out. So, my one to watch is probably one to watch in terms of, a non-local homegrown driver who's going to take it to Alex.
I did notice Caleb Noble down there for the South Australian titles just a little while back, and seemed to kind of take some time to work his way into the event. Got some speed by the end of it, but, maybe that experience might stand him in pretty good stead come Nationals time as well. Definitely a talent. No, that's for sure.
Yeah, I think Caleb probably struggled like most of us did working the tires out, right? It is a really unique surface there. So that might have been why he was slow to start. But, he started to finish strong, and he'll work it out.
We did already talk about the Asian Buggy Champs going to a 4-round series, New Zealand, Manila, Pine Hills again, and then later in the year, I think it's Indonesia, isn't it? Or Jakarta. So we won't spend any more time on that. But Worlds year, Worlds comes around so fast, so we're heading to South America next year, I think. Any talk about any Aussies kind of heading for the Worlds? It's a tough one to get to.
Yeah, it's a tough one to get to. Brazil in September. They have made it a little easier. Previously it was 6 hours from an international airport, like it was in the middle of nowhere. So it's pretty good now in terms of proximity to the international airport. It's only a 25 or 30-minute drive, which is not too bad. I don't know about the facility. Quite frankly, I've looked at the stage reports. I've looked at the photos. I think IFMAR needs to take a long, hard look at themselves. I'm sure the event will be good, but if I look at it, I don't know. It looks like a club track, right?
Okay.
So I just find it really difficult to think, how do you get hyper motivated to spend $10,000 or $15,000 to go to a track that, is not probably what it needs to be yet anyway to be world's level. I'm sure there'll be a couple of drivers that go. I sent off a note looking for some seats on frequent flyers the other day. So if maybe that comes in, maybe Zach Ryan and I will go. But it's a long way to go. Like it's a heck of a long way. It was 2 flights from Australia to get there. The best part of 22 hours. So yeah, I think it's going to be probably one of the events that's not as well attended as what we'll see 2 years later when it heads back to US soil.
Yeah, that will be something special. Does remind me, I would seriously love to see your frequent flyer points balance, mate. It must be you do some travel. Ben Panic, thank you so much for joining us. Again, there's 1,000 things we could have talked about that I wanted to talk about, but we just out of time. Maybe we're learning we need to do 4 nights in a row of this for next year. Maybe not. But Ben, thanks for joining us. Blessings for Christmas. Happy New Year to you, and all the best for 2024.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me. Look forward to see you all in New Zealand.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Folks, if you're still with us, we are kind of getting towards the finish line. We're about to bring in our last guest, but just take a moment to stand up, turn around, have a little bit of a stretch, grab a drink of water. We're kind of 2 hours, 10 minutes, I think, into this shindig now. So, if you've been with us the whole night, kudos to you. We've had to each drop out momentarily to go and take care of business, but we're here for the end. And the end is to turn our attention overseas. So let's bring our last guest in for the night. A voice and a face and a name that are known all over the world. It's stupid o'clock in the morning where he is. I think it's like 4 o'clock in the morning or something. Scotty Ernst, welcome to the Australian RC season recap. It is great to have you with us. How are you doing this morning?
Oh, I'm doing swell, guys. Thank you very much. It's great to be here. Thanks for asking me to be a part of it. I guess good morning, good evening to you guys. It's as you said, crazy early here in the morning in Wisconsin.
You've come to spend a fair bit of time in Australia, and we're almost prepared to name you an honorary Australian. You've been down a couple of times this year. I think the same will happen next year. What have you noticed? I guess before we talk international, I'm curious about how you've seen the Australian scene develop over the few years now that you've been coming down under running race meetings.
It's been really a joy to be able to watch it. I think grow is not even a too strong word, because there's always been a great racing scene, but over the last couple of years, it has just grown to just another level, and it's been just a joy to be even just a small part of it. When we first brought the AOC, we were doing that for many years, and that traveled all around Australia, and it really got the on-road scene, an international kind of vibe down there that everybody was looking for. And then we got the Asian Nitro Challenge going, and then Championship Series, and we're up in England Park there, and that was a whole nother vibe. And that's when I had the pleasure really kind of first meeting some of you guys, and I met Tony and his family, and the Stanleys, and that became our friendship and relationship, and then just went to PDNR, and it's just grown and grown, and it's I feel a little bit of Aussie in me. I got to go down there a lot. Next year, heck, I'm going to be down there, I don't know, 3-4 times, something like that. So I'm pretty excited. Minus the long flight. Ben was just talking about going to Brazil there in this 22 hours. But Ben, that's nothing for me. It's like from Milwaukee to get to Brisbane or something like that. It's I don't know, 26, 28 hours or something like that. But it's a long trip, but well worth it, because the passion you guys share down there for RC, whether it's a pro or a Joe, it's just everybody just loves it, and we get to do the international races. It's a blast.
Scotty, we want to talk a little bit about the international scene, and I guess I want to start by noticing that this has been the first really full season, I suppose we could say, since COVID. We all know about COVID, and we won't go into that, but 2023 has been, I guess, the year when international racing's been back full flood. You've had a pretty full schedule yourself. We've seen, I think, 4 World Championship events. Give us a little bit of an insight into I guess what you've seen and been paying attention to, and what that international scene and the atmosphere has been like in 2023.
Racing definitely, full throttle again after the world shutdown and all that stuff. Everybody was itching to get back at it. People were still timid, at the start of the year to travel and things like that, but everybody was definitely missing the international travel racing vibe. And it's really come on strong with so many races now going on and people wanting to do that. We obviously had our series that have kicked off and done that and been all over. The ETS and our EOS is going again strong in Europe. And I think everybody's just happy to kind of put that, God, it was what, 2.5 years, 3 years of our lives, you know what I mean, that are gone. It's just crazy. So everybody's excited to get back to the passion they love. In some ways, the pandemic, truly hurt the racing scene because obviously we couldn't hold races, but people found other things to fill the talent. You guys talked about it earlier in the show, I think it was Shaps was talking about it with do simulate and stuff like that, video games and things. So but for most, I think 90% of the guys, when RC's in our blood, and when we can't do it, we Jones and want to do it again. So it's on the world level, racing definitely back to as close as it was before, in some aspects larger.
I did want to ask you about a couple of the World Championship events. You were in Japan for the 8-scale on-road worlds, and we talked with Shaps a little bit about that. Looked like some kind of race at a pretty amazing facility. From a race organizer, race director kind of perspective, what did you like about that event?
It was epic, as you would expect a World Championships to be. The Infinity Raceway there is, top notch, 10 out of 10. It's got everything you would want as a racer. And Japan is, if you've never been to Japan, everybody always asks, Scotty, I don't travel a lot. Where should I go if I want to go? You go to Japan. Japan is like one of the greatest countries in the world for racing, for tourism, for just anything. So it was epic at all levels. Even if you don't look at the racing, just everything. Your organization was great, and everything you'd hope for. And then you fast forward to the racing, and man, what a epic racing event, from the qualifying through to the finals. It was just everything you had hoped for. A little bit of controversy there at the end, but that's part of the highest level of racing there was, and it made for just an epic event. I was truly honored to be asked to be part of it. Kenji had asked me before the pandemic, when they first kind of got issued the Worlds, hey, say, Scotty, we'd like you to come and MC it. And that's just for me, Mitch. I'm sure you feel the same thing when you get asked to do a nationals and a world and stuff like that. I mean, it is the highest level we can get in our little corner world, the commentating world. It's it's the best.
Yep. Tony, Matt, Mitch, any questions you want to jump in for Scotty? Maybe I'll ask another one, but get a question ready for you.
For sure,
Scotty.
For Scotty.
Yeah.
First off, mate.
Good eye.
Only one way to greet Scotty. And I think that little bit of Aussie that's in him is the Vegemite we force fed him at PDNR last year.
That will always be in my mind. But you guys changed my feeling. If you folks that are watching don't know the story, years ago I went there. They gave me a spoonful of Vegemite, and oh my God, it was all right. So these guys surprised me. They went the night before, got a toaster, toasted bread properly, and put it on bread and everything. So it wasn't as bad as us Americans, normally, or my first experience with it. So it was tolerable.
All these know how you got to have it: hot toast, butter, and a bit of scraping of Vegemite for the beginner. Anyway,
yeah,
you need to get to more advanced level to
Call me un-Australian, but it is a foul and disgusting substance. Which is
no.
Hey,
so how do we get rid of Scott out of the chat now?
I'll still take peanut butter over Vegemite, but hey, I'm going to be in Australia for like 3 weeks.
We'll work on you.
Hey, maybe I'll get turned.
So let's just dip back to Worlds racing for a minute, because I always want to get serious. 10 scale off-road Worlds in the US, we talked a little bit about that with Andrew Salvaggi. I don't think you were there, Scotty, but some of the people that put that event on. We saw a first-time winner in two-wheel drive. We saw Davide Ongaro, kind of just do a ridiculous thing and win four-wheel drive. I'm guessing you've seen some of the footage and some of what went on there. What'd you make of that 10 scale Worlds from your perspective?
Another A+ Worlds. Larry Tom, the guys there at Hobby Action, took it to the level that 10 scale needs to be for a world championship, and even with the greater challenge of being in an indoor facility. If you guys seen the pictures or everything, I mean, Hobby Action down there is a world-class facility on all levels. And then the presentation that they did with the help of Bob from StickItOneRacing.com just took it to everything you would imagine a Worlds to be. I mean, they had, normally there's not a bleacher or seating section in there. They worked it in. The graphics and presentation that Larry and Bob and their team did was second to none, not even first to none. I mean, it was never done before. And, all those little pieces that they put together was fantastic. All the champions that they had on the wall through the years were awesome. Jay Halsey made an appearance. Somebody posted a picture of him next to his little, picture. And then after the four-wheel drive, bam, they had Ongaro, picture up there. And it was just, it was great on all levels. I was jealous that I wasn't able to be there and be part of it.
We all, yeah.
But it was, just amazing thing. You mentioned Ongaro. I mean, come on. I mean, nobody expected that. I mean, you go to Vegas and look at the odds sheets, Ongaro's not even on the map. Sure, he's an amazing talent, but to come into America, into the home of 10 scale indoor off-road and show up like that and win was amazing, amazing to see for sure. So it was epic on all levels. I wish I had been there, even just as a spectator sitting on the sidelines watching. It would have been fantastic.
You just struggled as a spectator, because I can tell you there were about 12 deep. We had people standing not just on top of the pit benches, but on top of the actual car stands, on top of the pit benches. It was crazy. You'd never believe it.
That's the excitement that, it's like full scale motorsports to us. You know what I mean? That's what made it such a great event.
I think we didn't mention his name there, but Tater Sontag, perhaps an underdog winner in two-wheel drive as well. And almost in that tradition of first-time Worlds winners, only history will tell us how good he is in the long run. But Scotty, what do you know about Tater, and what do you expect to see from him in the next year or two?
I was gonna go into the two-wheel drive comments here after we did, but yeah, Tater is an amazing young talent from Michigan, kind of the center of the United States. He's been running TLR for a long time. He's run in his youth. He ran well, never anything really epic, but in the last couple of years, he's definitely come on strong. And then for that week, you can't take anything away from him. That week he was in two-wheel drive. He was the best in the world. It's there was no question about it. He found something and had a focus that just, propelled him to the top. And, the World's win is always your biggest win. But for him, there was never any real major win that he had in his young career. So to propel to be called a world champ is an amazing accomplishment. We'll see what he's gonna be able to do as he continues to grow and things like that. But what an accomplishment for a young driver.
On the flip side, people probably like Spencer Rivkin, Dakota Fenn, Michael Orlowski, would have been going to that Worlds with pretty high expectations and high hopes of taking the big trophy home. I guess that's just how racing goes, but did you get a sense that some of those guys might feel that this was one that slipped through the cracks for them?
Oh, I think so. Especially you look at Spencer Rivkin, his home track. He lives in Surprise, Arizona, which is, 15 minutes away or stuff like that. So he obviously put the time in to prepare, and he was so close. But, at the pinnacle of any form of motorsports, there can only be one winner. And those guys were, so close. Mikhail Orlowski, just an amazing talent from Warsaw, Poland, and we've watched him. I've been honored to watch him grow. Him and his dad started racing our ETS when he was 5 years old with a Plastic is Fantastic Tamiya car, TT01, back in the day when we had the hobby division. Here's little Mikhail, 5 years old. And I've watched him grow as he's, 18, 19 years old now. So it's he's just a great kid, respectful, represents all his brands very well. If you've ever, in motorsports world, they say wins on Sunday, sells on Monday. If you've really never seen so much of that in our industry, but you see what Mikhail has done to the Schumacher brand by running it. They've always been around, Schumacher's been around, they're a legendary company and everything like that. And there were pockets of, places that ran them and people that used a car. But when they brought in Mikhail and he started traveling the world and having good results and it was going, being a great ambassador for them, it was just fantastic. So now you go and see everywhere, people are running Schumacher, and it's really cool to see that when, they brought them on board, that it helps that brand. Everybody's got their fans' favorites, associate or whatever. I'm an associated guy and stuff like that. Always will be, and Reedy, it's just my history with them and everything like that. But anytime you see our anyone in our industry grow, it's really great. And, Mikhail was a big part of that. So it's, I'm sure they all felt like they had a big chance and everything, but two really unsuspecting people took it with Ongaro and Sante taking the wins.
Definitely Ongaro puts himself up there as something pretty special to hold 8th and 10th titles at the same time. We just were talking about Orlowski, which of course brings up the question of the last Worlds that we just finished off a couple of weeks ago, the 12-scale Worlds there in Florida. His first World Championship win, but, an incredible race in, one of the oldest categories, the performance of Kemp Anderson, that A3 final that, the start of that kind of robbed us. But, Scotty, tell me a little bit about what you made of that 12-scale Worlds there on home turf in the US.
It was really an amazing event for sure. Just tragic for Kemp Anderson. People outside the world maybe never heard his name, but they have now. If you're an on-road aficionado, Kemp from Murfreesboro, Tennessee, son of Eric Anderson, has just been the last few years really put his focus in on racing. They have a home track there themselves that they and him and his family have, and just did great, running head to head with Mark Reinhardt and Mikhail and these guys. It was really, really exciting to see. A tragedy for, you have fan favorites, sure. Everybody's got their favorites of who you want to win, but you never want to see racing come down to a mechanical thing, like out of the gate at the start. That was truly sad. So all of us for, cheering for the, wave an American flag, cheering for Kemp was disappointing. But then again, you look at, Mark ran so strong, he's got world titles, many of them under his belt. So he was right there. And then Mikhail to have his first world championship. I mean, that is, not in the discipline that he's really, known for. He's always run on road. Like I said, he started ETS back in the day and ran a lot of on road. Then, off road's become his forte and what he's well known by. But then to be right there with these guys and be able to pull out a title, it was just really, really exciting. Great presentation and great job by the Beachline crew, Robbie and TJ and all the guys down there put a great facility and event together. So it was, I thought it was really good. Again, I wish I could have been down there watching and part of it and everything, but just, well done to them. So we've had a couple great world championships in America.
And that does, I guess, point us to 2024 when that Touring Car Worlds is, on the US turf there. And I just, I've said a couple of times in the lead up to the 12th scale, there's some young US talent in the on-road side that, maybe we've not seen quite that level of ability since maybe Paul Lemieux was at his, at his peak. What are you looking forward to in terms of Touring Car World in the US in the run up to that Worlds next year?
I'm excited for it for sure. The track up there really, really nice. Great group of guys there that are organized, and they're really passionate about doing it. They've reached out to me, and we've talked a lot, me just trying to give them some ideas to help them. And I think it's going to be, something really good. The greatest, probably top young talent that we have, Jacob Cruz, a young kid from California, has really, really put the work in his nitro program and his electric program, really starting. I just saw he was racing again this weekend, running some races. So I think the people in America are starting to gear up, and young Jacob, say young, I mean, he started, now I think he's 16, 17, something like that. He's getting old, but great kid, great family, and definitely the one from out in that neck of the woods that I think is really putting in the time to do it. And I'm excited. Unfortunately, the touring car world in America is definitely down from when it used to be. We don't have the massive amount of top level talents. And you mentioned Paul Lemieux before, and Paul was a perfect example. He would run on a world scale and things like that. But unless you can travel around and race against Ronald and Mark and Chrissy and Victor and, Naoto and all those guys that were running the touring car back in the day, if you can't run against them guys, you can be the top of the heap at your, Loca, be a LTH, local track hero, where nobody can touch you. But unless you get to move out and race against those guys on a global scale, you're not going to improve your ability. And that's what American racers really have. And we only have a handful of, top level guys that, have a chance to even try to run at the world scale. And that makes it tough. I was talking to Mark Reinhardt. He was at the indoor champs a couple weeks ago that we had in Cleveland. And, we were talking about the Reedy race, and, back in the day when it was amazing at the Tamiya facility, when you had 20 guys, that definitely were in the mix to be able to do it. And, to be able to get that race going again, Mark was like, can we do it? The problem is there's not enough guys for a Reedy race format where you need 32 or, whatever you're going to have. Now there's, just a handful of guys at that level. And then the industry is different. The companies aren't spending as much money to send people on a world kind of scale. They'll send them to the worlds, but not to, so many other events. So travel budgets are cut and everything like that. So it's tough. So to have the worlds in America is going to be really special. And Finish Line up there, great track and organizer and everything. They're really, really putting into time. I mean, you guys have been around Scott, you've been around a long time. When have you seen a stage 1 report 1 year before the worlds?
They're pretty excited, right?
Oh, absolutely. So, I mean, a tip of the hat to them guys. When I saw they came out, a year in advance, I mean, that's unheard of. Hell, we're waiting for a stage 1 report at 6 months. So I got nothing but accolades to send out to them. It was, well done. It's going to be great.
It's going to give a real focus, isn't it, for local racing or regional racing over the next 12 months. Mitch, jump in and take us in a different direction here. Where do you want to take us?
This could be
trouble.
I might stitch you up here, or I might even stitch myself up here, because I don't know if my information is correct. I believe it will be, because I think it might even come from Tony himself. Now, here,
you stitched up Tony as well.
Yeah, so I'm going to stitch up
Tony under the bus. Sorry, my internet's breaking up. My internet's breaking up. I can't. What?
Up here in Brisbane, we sort of know you as a bird wrangler because you were somewhat attacked by a bird up in Brendale. Now, before we go too far into that, I want to actually delve into a different form of motorsport. Now, I believe it was Tony that told me this, that you have actually done actual real scale motorsport and potentially even IndyCar race calling. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. It is. My home is Milwaukee, Wisconsin. And we have the legendary Milwaukee Mile, which is one of the most legendary oval tracks in America. And I had the pleasure of meeting a gentleman that's a legend in the world of TV motorsports. His name is Jim Tradow, and he was in charge of the media relations here at the Milwaukee Mile for a long, long time. And he's on Speed TV and ABC's. He does pit reporting and commentary, and he's just an absolute. He's got a mind like I only wish I had. If you wanted to know who the right rear tire changer of Michael Andretti's, 1992 Indy car, he'll know who changed the right rear tire and who was the fuel man and what brand. He's just amazing. But he got a word of me and my commentating at Trackside, my hobby shop and racetrack, and reached out to me and said, "Hey, Scotty, we're going to do a Legends, like a weekly race program. Legends cars are like a kind of kit car, full scale, kind of modeled after real old school cars." And we did a TV show kind of for the local cable TV. And I did that for a couple summers. And then the Indy cars were coming to town, and he said, "Scotty, do you want to be the track announcer for that?" And wow. So it was amazing. So we got to go up into the big booms that, put you, 40 feet in the air or whatever. And I was the track commentator for the Indy car. So it was really amazing, exciting to commentate in front of, 10, 20,000 people. And then after the race was done, we're coming down off the boom and we're walking back to the main media center. And he's like, "Scotty, I want you to do the 3-question interview with the winner." I'm talk about instant frightness and scared. I mean, on national TV, here you go. I'm, doing this, and but it taught me a lot in a short amount of time. He's truly become a mentor of mine and helped me. I didn't know what questions, and he kind of coached me. He says, "You just watch the whole race. So take a point in that race that, was memorable and take it. And then listen to his answer. Have a couple questions in your mind already, but then listen to his answer. And if his answer is good, it'll direct you down the road on where to take that answer and go to the next question." And it was, and I've used that throughout my career now, and got to do that. And then I got to introduce AJ Foyt. I don't know if you've, he's a legend in the world of American motorsports, multiple Indy 500 champion, and I got to do that. I got to introduce him on live TV, for the most famous words in motorsports, "Ladies and gentlemen, start your engine." And it was, it was an epic experience for sure to do that.
That's awesome. All right, I'll chuck it over to Tony because I know Tony has another one. He's going to try and stitch you up as well.
Yeah. Oh boy, I'm in trouble again.
No, I'm not gonna stitch you up, Mitch. I'll save that for another day. I just want to go back to RC a little bit and the media side of things and the trends that we're sort of seeing from around the world. There seems to be a few new media projects, being started up in America. It used to just be Live RC and then RC Racing TV in Europe. We're seeing more events do their own media and other groups start up. So just curious on your thoughts on the trends for media, and also Live RC's connection with the sports show, how they broadcast into the sports TV channel. Mm-hmm. So just some thoughts on media that we might be able to learn or look out for in the years to come.
I think it's a really exciting time for us in the RC industry. As technology expands, obviously it makes it easier to share content with the world with social media platforms and things like that. Live RC was the first to really get things going on a global scale, to be able to take our world of racing on, to make it, like a true motorsports for enjoyment on TV with multiple car angles and, instant replays and live commentary and pit reporting and stuff like that. And now you've seen other people do it. You guys, you and Matt and, are a perfect example of guys that took your passion for the hobby and tried to expand it and share it with others. And there's a couple other one, Danny Paz and the guys, Lance from the South Florida kind of area. They got their media projects going. Matt from Mod kind of got his going, and they're helping share all forms of racing. They just had the fifth scale worlds or nationals, or maybe it was worlds. I don't know that Mod Racing just broadcast us last weekend. Danny and Lance and the crew were doing that in Lefty down. They did the worlds down there. So it's really helping expand the viewership of RC, on a global scale, because, the more we can get out there, the better. So there's really no negative about it. It's all positive, and you get different groups and their what they see through the camera and how they want to present it. It just really helps get more people eyes on the prize kind of thing. And, we've all been down a rabbit hole at 3:00 in the morning on YouTube. And, for sure somebody catches something and like, wow, that was really cool. And they end up going to the hobby shop and buying something and getting in the hobby. So it's all positive for sure.
Scotty, we're going to have to let you get to breakfast soon, but before we kind of get to some awards, I do just want to kind of drag you back to the international scene for a minute from 2023. I just wanted to, I guess, invite you to reflect on the two series that you've been most closely associated with in the European scene, the EOS and ETS series. I guess on, firstly, how the series have gone this year, but also how you've seen the racing scene develop over the life of those series, because those two series have been running a pretty long time now. So I guess I'm interested in your reflections on EOS ETS 2023, but also how you've seen the scene change over the life of those series.
The ETS, it all started with the ETS. It was, I don't know,
so Euro Touring Series for those who are new to us. Yeah,
correct. Yeah, so it's the ETS. So I was over in Denmark doing I got hired to commentate the DHI Cup. It was a legendary touring car race in the late 90s, early 2000s, and the best of the best would always go to that one. It was an indoor carpet venue and everything. And I was there, and it was during one of the breaks, Mark Reinhardt's father was there, Uwe Reinhardt, and we were sitting up in a little snack area having something, and I said, I pitched the idea to him to do a international kind of series that that I thought could really, really work. I could be the MC and that kind of stuff, and Uwe would be the boots on the ground guy to help organize the races there. And we kicked it off, and through the years it's grown to be just a great series. We struggled in the early years for sure. We had a race I think the first year we had like 29 entries, and half of those were like double entries and everything like that. And EFRA and IFMAR, they pushed hard against us because they called us the black races. They didn't want us, they didn't want some loudmouth American coming in, doing races over there and bringing what I thought was just something different. You guys have been to our races, practice day and stuff like that. I like to have music playing. I like to have a nice vibe because we do this for fun. Yes, it's serious for sure, but you can still have fun doing it. It doesn't have to be all quiet, all solemn, no commentary, things like that. So we definitely we caused some waves when we first started. And after we got through our third year, it took us about 3 years for it to really catch on. And then it started building and building and building. And really, we got a big following, and the industry really embraced it and stuff like that. And it grew. So, Uwe and I, we've been, partners, 50-50 partners in it since the beginning, and it's really grown. And then when Carpet Off-Road started taking off, and it had been around for a long time, but not on a kind of big scale, we decided to start the Euro Off-Road series, and it really, really worked well. We began a relationship with Schumacher then. They had pre-glued tires and everything, so it was really easy to do a spec tire, and it's really worked out. For this year, it's been really, really tough for me because there was a couple events that I couldn't do. We flash back to coming out of the pandemic there in 22. We really couldn't travel out of America yet over there without, just massive restrictions and stuff that I wasn't gonna partake in and stuff like that. So once we were able to do that, I was able to travel again. So it's been growing. Unfortunately for the EOS though, it's been tough to be able to do it because to be able to do something on that level of scale, we need sponsorship money from within the industry. And it's been a challenge for the off-road side to be able to do it, to be able to get enough, because it's a massive undertaking to do a global series like that. If you think of the infrastructure behind the curtain, flights, hotel, transportation, food for all our team, you know what I mean? There's massive amounts of money that you need to do it. And, to be able to just make that off of the entry fee, it's not enough. So it's made it a bit challenging. We haven't been able to schedule 4 events like we've had in the past. We just have 2. Now, granted, the one coming up in Dawn in February, it's like maxed out for the 500 entries or something like that. So I don't know. I don't know how my voice is going to last. Mitch, I might have to fly you in to back me up there. But
yeah, Mitch is up for that.
yeah, for sure. So it's going to be awesome. So I mean, those two series play a special part in my heart for sure, because I was, part of them from the beginning, and it's just been, it's really a really tough world. I get to go to race, and you got Mark Reinhardt and Ronald Volker, Victor, all these guys there in the off-road, you're around Bruno Coelho and Mikhail and all these guys, guys that, have a talent level that we can only admire, we'll never reach. So that's the tough side of life.
Extraordinary. And those names have become household names within the RC scene, at least.
I mean,
on the back of those series. Yeah.
Oh yeah. You look at Bruno Coelho. I mean, Bruno's the Masami, as I say, the Masami of our day. Because he can take whatever discipline and win. He can run, obviously, touring car. He can run 10 scale buggy. He can get into 8 scale and do an 8 scale buggy. You know what I mean? And there's really nobody, in our current era right now that can do all those disciplines at a top level. You think of, Spencer Rivkin, Ryan Mayfield, all the stuff, get great at their disciplines. But, are they going to get a 10 scale touring car and run at the pinnacle, out of the gate and things like that? So, Bruno's a special kind of talent. I'm a big fan. He's a great guy. In many ways, I think he gets a bad rep from the keyboard kings and queens that are on the internet. If you ever get a chance to meet him, he's just a straight guy and just a joy to talk to and an amazing talent. So Bruno's a big, amazing talent and a great guy.
Well, if we're going to start naming best in the world, Tony, why don't you lead us through some international awards? We'll get some views from Scotty on a couple of international awards, and then we'll see where we've gotten to with Driver of the Year and so on. Take us away, Tony.
Yeah, so we had an international driver's choice, and there was a lot of names thrown up in that one. Like you just rattled off, Scotty, there's so many names of people's favourite top drivers. A couple of the top three, Tony Gruber, Olowski, but the runaway winner was Davide Ongaro, and I think his achievements, as everyone's pointed out already, are pretty phenomenal to see. A back-to-back 8 scale, which, as you pointed out, is the first time that's been done, and then to go and do it in EP, that's that was pretty impressive.
It is, for sure. You can't argue the facts; they're there, and for him to do both things that you did, to back in 8 scale buggy, which is the most popular and form of discipline of racing that we have on a global scale, was an absolute feat that hadn't been done before. And then for him to come into the mouth of the lion in the U.S. in 10 scale indoor and be able to run with the best and show his talent was, that was extraordinary for sure. So top of the list for sure.
You shake your head at that win, don't you? That was unbelievable.
It was absolutely.
Yeah. What chance he goes 3 in a row in Brazil next year?
He goes right in GT.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's definitely doable for sure. I mean, because Ben mentioned it, how many people are going to travel there, because it's a challenge to get there. So I don't think it's going to be the most strongly attended world championships. I'm sure hoping I get to go there, because all the places in the world that I've been, I've never been to South America. South America, Antarctica, only 2 continents I haven't been on. So it's I definitely want to go down there and be part of it in some way, hopefully a live RC or something like that. But he definitely got a chance to do it, and then that takes him to a whole nother level of conversation. You're into the Calari, Lamberto Calari was a 9-time 8 scale, or 8 or 9, I don't know. Scott, you'll know. I'm getting old, I forget. I think 9-time.
9 times.
World champion, and then you start, if you can do a 3-peat, the last guy to do that, Michael Jordan in basketball or something like that. But that'd be on an epic scale for sure.
Tony, sorry I interrupted you there, mate. Let's talk about emerging talent, kind of one to watch. I'm not sure we asked our viewers about that, but where do we think we cast our eyes in terms of emerging?
No, we didn't ask that question. We're just going to leave that one up to Scotty. He can just pick someone and claim in a few years' time. See, I told you about this up and coming talent, and now they're world champion.
No, there's never bragging is never like that. I mean, there's so many talented people out there for sure, and it's hard to pick because you just never know. So many opportunities for people to get in a race and things like that. Phi Long Nguyen, a young kid, 8-scale racer in the America here, kind of came on the scene over the last couple of years. He had just great results. I think he's maybe 13 now. He kind of started when he came onto the national scene at about 9-10 years old out at the Dirt Nitro Challenge out on the West Coast, and started running really, really well. He was an HB guy for a long time. Now he just switched. I just saw it recently. I think it's Kyosho. I think he just signed with. Yep. So that's a big change for him. So he's a very, very talented young driver, and there's no doubt national championship here in America for this kid, without question. And he's got a great family. Dad, really supportive, just a very humble, really nice kid. And I think he's probably one of the most talented young 8-scale buggy drivers in the world right now.
Yeah, I was really excited to see that he'd signed with Kyosho, and can't help wondering what it will be like for him to run alongside Ryan Lutz. In terms of the experience that Ryan brings, and maybe there's some opportunities for Phi Long to learn a little bit from Ryan along the way. I think I jumped in and cut across someone there. Was that you, Mitch?
Yeah, you're right. I was just wondering, how old is young Phi?
I want to say maybe 12 years old. Yeah, somewhere 12, 13-year-old range. He's just an amazing, talented young driver. Drives with his stick radios. You know what I mean? I don't know how them guys do that, but yeah, he had a race at Silver State last year. Electric truck, put a pass on Joe Bornhorst just on the last lap. This big, huge jump. I don't know who the announcer guy was, but he lost his mind and he went crazy. And it was an epic, and it was great. One of the best interviews I ever did. Here's this little kid, didn't speak to me much the couple years before. Every time I see him, he would, I'd say hi, we'd high five, and he started to get a little bit more comfortable talking and things like that. And then I go to interview him for that and ask him about a pass, and he basically said it was like his secret weapon. He had it planned out the whole time, and on the last lap just launched it over this huge jump in the back and made it stick. And they had to race 2 more corners, and it was awesome. So it was really good, and just a amazing talent.
Did he pass? Was it Joe Bornhorst?
Yeah, went over the top of Joe Bornhorst. I'm not trying to throw Joe under the bus, but none of us expected it. I mean, it was just nobody's jumped that big jump, that back corner at that track, like that at all throughout the whole event. And he sent it on the last lap, and it was just 2 more corners, and Joe was obviously you don't want to lose to a little 12-year-old kid, let alone get schooled like that, and Joe wasn't expected as much as we weren't. So we can laugh about it now, but that was amazing moment in 8-scale racing for Phi Long.
I think for mine, that's right up there with Reinhard on Hara at the Thailand Worlds in touring car is maybe the 2 greatest passes of all time in RC. Of course, we haven't seen it, but those 2 passes just, in the memory bank stand out as iconic moments in the sport over the long term. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. When Reinhardt, in 2008 there in Bangkok, when he, put it on the curbing, literally, if you guys go online and watch it, just passed him on the curbing. It was awesome. Unreal. And it was great. Every time that video comes on, I'm kind of a little torn because the guys that did it, they did a voiceover post-production on it. And if you hear the guy in the background, the announcer in the background, you listen, he was going mad. It was epic. And it was just, it goes down in history banks. As he said, one of the greatest.
Pretty special. Scotty, we need to let you go, but before we do, let me ask you to cast your mind forward to 2024. Maybe tell us a little bit about what you've got happening in Australia, but just in general, what are you looking forward to over the next 12 months?
I think the racing scene on a world scale is going to be kind of back to where it was, and in some ways, I think even stronger than before the world shut down. It's everybody is excited to do it. Organizers are working hard to prepare for events and things like that. I see big race just announced in China in March, electric and nitro on road. So this is going to be the first second. I guess they just had a big electric touring. Gavin and his crew just had a big electric touring race this past weekend. So it's going to be the second kind of major race in China. So that is going to be exciting. A couple worlds. You guys talked about the Costa Rica Worlds coming up. I think that is going to be a really special race because I've talked to people that have been there. An epic track. Same with the track in Peru. It's supposed to be really, really nice. So I think there's going to be some great things. And for us, we have the Asian Buggy Championships kicking off in New Zealand, which is pretty exciting. We had a great success last year with 2 races. We had the race in the Philippines and then in Brisbane. And now we're going to be able to take it to 4. We go to New Zealand, Philippines, Australia, and then Jakarta. So it's I'm really excited to get that one going to a kind of the full series length. And as Shaps mentioned earlier, I'm hoping to get the Asian Nitro Championship going, the Nitro on road. That was a big series that started. And then obviously we had to stop it, and we're hoping to get it going again. So great. I got great plans for 2024. I'm really excited to get a lot more racing going and get to some new places that I've never had the pleasure of being. Trying to get the Asian On-Road Championship, the electric touring side series going again, but that's a bit of a struggle. We had our date we've always last, I don't know how many years here we've done it up in Brisbane, first week of March, but TITC moved their date a week later. So it conflicts. And I build my whole calendar, 6-8 months ahead. Most of my 2024 is build, 2025 starting to build already. And, I had everything filled around that March date because TITC has always been the 3rd or 4th weekend in February for eternity. It's always been that. So it's really thrown a monkey wrench in our plans to be able to do it. So I'm trying to find a new date to get the AOC in Australia, and then we want to go to Kuala Lumpur and get a couple races going again. So it's a struggle for me now with the calendar for the AOC. So we're trying, and I get messages all the time, people asking when we're going to do it, and we're trying to find dates. But as you guys know, there's so many international races going on. It's a challenge.
I was about to say you somehow seem to have more weekends in your year than the rest of us, but there we go. There are limitations even for Scotty Ernst. Matt, you wanted to explore something with Scotty.
We have to unmute, but there was also a couple of other races that you may or may not be coming over to do, Scotty.
Yes, absolutely. As I mentioned earlier, I'm going to be in Australia for almost a month. I'm pretty excited about that. The calendars and everything worked out. Matt, we're going to work together. What is that?
Coming down to Sydney RC, end of June, last weekend of June.
Yeah, we do that. And then we go to PDNR the week after that. Then we have the Asian Buggy Championships week after that. So I'm going to be a full-fledged Aussie by the middle of 2024 here. I can't wait.
Absolutely. But yeah, one thing that people watching may not realize, though Scotty has been very generous with his time and lending his voice and his experience coming over to do some of our events, this whole RC Race Media thing is probably something even Scotty may not realize that he's indirectly responsible for. He's Tim who put me in touch with Live RC a bit over a year ago to get them out to do our event, and that's kind of what led to Tony and I going down this path. And Scotty was nice enough to someone who he just met, barely knew, for a club he'd never heard of. Not only hit them up, but follow up regularly to get Live RC out here. And from there on, Tony and I kind of went down this path. But yeah, it's just been crazy ever since. But not only that, he also trusted us almost immediately. We hadn't even done a proper race meeting, but he trusted us and believed in us enough to do his AOC event, pretty much with no experience. So, and that worked out pretty well. He booked us straight in to do ABC, and I think they've both gone off pretty well. So, pretty indirectly, Scotty, here you've done a lot for Australian RC racing in the last year alone. So. From every other actual Australian to an honorary Australian, thank you very much for everything you've done for us, and we are very much looking forward to having you over here to do more next year.
Well, that's very kind of you. I appreciate it, Matt, very much. I mean, we all share the one aspect that helps us and doesn't really make it work. We share the passion for RC. And that overcomes any obstacle. If you have a passion for what you do, you can get knocked down, and you brush yourself off and you get back up. And, I saw that in you guys from Tony when I first met him and Chris and the guys at the Nitro race years ago, until when I first met you, Matt. I mean, I could tell, you had a passion for it. Obviously you were a big believer in the hobby. You put in the time that's in a club that a lot of people take for granted, all the behind the scenes work that you do and everything. And I could see that, out of the gate in our first day and two of working, and then working with Tony through the events and everything like that. You share the passion that, drives all of us that, just want to give the most we can to the hobby that we love. And then, you guys have taken it now to a new level. Your coverage of the GT Worlds and stuff like that was, on par, if not better than, what Live RC has done. And, they were kind of the first ones to do it. And you guys have done a great job. And it's a pleasure to have you kind of on my team that, we can showcase these races. And you guys have helped elevate racing in Australia unquestionably. Because now it's truly an event when you guys go there, because moms and grandma and grandpas can watch and everything like that. So it takes it from just a race to an event, and there's quite a distinction to that. We all go to races and things like that, but when you have proper media coverage, stuff like that, then it becomes an event. And you guys have just absolutely done a great job, and it's been a pleasure to work with you.
Oh, thanks, Scotty. It's allowed us to contact plenty of other people like Scott and Mitch and Chris Mitchell as well, to get them on board and just to expand the whole thing. So indirectly this whole thing has been part of the Scotty and his web of RC. So
that's
all right. It's getting
all your fault.
Yeah, you're taking the blame on this one.
My fault. Sorry about that, guys.
Getting late. It's getting late. We're all emotional. We're all a bit tired. It's going to turn into a love-in.
Tired? What? It's early here, man. The day's just starting. Come on, let's go.
I'm going to butt in there and say we've just tipped over 3 hours, and it's probably time we called this shenanigans to a close. Scotty, hang on with us for the last couple of minutes while we wrap up. But a huge thank you to you for jumping out of bed early in the morning. We hope we haven't caused other people in the household to be woken too early, but congrats on all that you've achieved this year and all the races you've run, and we certainly look forward to hanging out with you in Australia and in some other parts of the world in 2024. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, this morning.
It's an honor to be asked to be here. This is a great thing you guys got going, and you guys have all done great things. Scott, you jumped on board with us for the Asian Buggy Championship, and you're going to be traveling with us. And you have your own skill set that is just second to none in what you do, and it's truly a pleasure to work. And Mitch, I'm excited to be down in your neck of the woods and working together. And you guys are blessed in Australia. You got two great commentators with Mitch and Chris down there. That's you guys are very, very blessed to have a couple of people that share the passion make racing more enjoyable. So it's truly a pleasure to work with all of you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, mate. Folks, if you've hung in with us for the last 3 hours and 3 minutes, we want to say thank you. For those of you who'll catch this show later on, we want to say thank you to you as well. As we did at the top of the show, we want to honour and acknowledge those who make RC racing possible, the volunteers, the club members, those who build and clean racetracks, who cook barbecues, who organise events, take entries, all of those things. This could not happen, would not happen without you. Particularly in Australia, it's a club-driven sport, but that's true all over the world. So wherever you are, if you're watching and you put your hands to the wheel to make RC racing happen, we just want to say thank you. We want to say thank you to the racers, the friends and the families that we've met all around Australia and around the world in 2023. I'm going to give each of the guys one last chance for a final thought on 2023 or something you look forward to in 2024, and then we'll wrap this show up. So let me go to you first, Mitch. One last thought from you on the year that was, or something that you're really looking forward to in 2024.
Year that was, can't go past the 10 scale worlds, the experience there. And once again, if you haven't experienced a world of any scale, any form, it's a must do. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just coming into the hobby, it's something that you have to strive to at least get to at least one world titles, in my opinion. The things you'll learn from that will be, both advantageous towards your future, whether it be in the hobby or just in general. In my opinion, that the friends you'll make will be lifelong friends. So I think that's sort of something to take away from our great hobby, and something I think every driver should try to achieve at one point.
Yeah, you're putting the pressure on. Just a quick note there from Shaps in the comments. We might drag it up on screen, but just to acknowledge the families who are kind of at home doing their own thing while we're off playing with toy cars all over the place. So good call, Shaps. Good shout out to families of racers, those of us who are addicted to racing toy cars. Tony, for you, last thoughts, last kind of reflections, or something you're looking forward to in 2024?
I think based on Shap's comments, he needs some brownie points for the large scale worlds coming up next year. But, I just pinch myself, really. What RC started for me, going way back, was build a track in my front yard and organise races with my schoolmates, to find a group of guys in a car park that then became PD&R, and doing that every Tuesday night for more than half my life, to meeting a guy called Scotty Ernst when I was just about had enough of RC and just got totally hooked again. And then the last 5-6 years with a journey that I never saw coming. So you never know what RC is gonna give you and bring you, and I just enjoying the ride and thank everyone that has been a part of it at any stage. So I love it.
Beautiful. Well said. Matt, how about for you? Last thoughts, last reflections, something you're looking forward to?
Really just looking ahead, looking forward to what we're doing next year and just in the future. I mean, there's the 2025 10th scale off-road worlds coming to Australia, and if we're lucky enough to be doing that, we're going to be basically just ramping everything up and just trying to improve everything we can do to compete on the world scale. And it's just crazy to think that we're going on tour with Scotty next year, off to New Zealand. And I used to tour a lot with bands. I thought my touring days were done. Now I'm doing it for toy cars. So
bring your guitar. Bring your guitar, mate. Come
rock on.
Yeah. So that's what I'm looking forward to. Just getting out about, even around the world a little bit, and just experiencing everything. And just playing with RC cars. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Nice. Scotty, any last thoughts, last words from you as we wrap up?
Ooh, these guys they covered it all well there. Just 23 was great, kind of back at it full speed for me. Did a bunch of great events. Looking forward to, next year, finally get to go to New Zealand. It's been a dream, that I've always wanted to do. So I'm excited to go down there and work with the group down there. It's going to be an exciting race and just lots of big races. And I'm excited to just sharing the passion that I have for the hobby as you can do with other people from around the world.
Nice. And if anyone from New Zealand's still with us live, it's something like midnight or 12:30 or something over there. So good on you for hanging in. We're looking forward to being in your part of the world. For me, I'm really looking forward to, as others have said, some time on the racetrack, some time with friends. Just about to kick off into season 3 of the Action RC podcast, which I'm really looking forward to some more interesting conversations. So look for that in the next month or so. Friends, I think that's about enough. So from us to you for hanging in there, for enjoying the show with us, for chatting along in the comments. We've absolutely loved it. To Tony and Matt and to Mitch, who, when I flagged this idea only about 2 weeks ago, hey, let's do an end of season show together. They all said, sure, let's do it. I think we've had a good time putting it together. Maybe with a little extra planning time next year, we can do a couple of extra things. I think from all of us to all of you who are watching at home, all around the world, it's a good night, good morning, good day. We'll see you at the racetrack soon. Cheers, guys. Good night.